Chapter 513. Mysterious Crystal Ball. Melancholic Smile had never before seen any of the numerous forging designs scattered across the stone platform. Melancholic Smile was stupefied. No words could describe her shock. Guild leader, I'm not dreaming, right? She was a forger in her own right, so she knew how valuable these forging designs were. While the forging designs that could be purchased from the Forging Association were not particularly valuable, forging designs obtained elsewhere were. This was due to the design's low drop rates. However, ordinary forging designs were not enough to nurture a forger. Hence the forging designs were so expensive. It was especially true for the forging designs that had very low drop rates and were meant for producing highly useful items. The prices of such forging designs were astronomical. Aside from that, there was one more type of forging design that was even more valuable, such as the basic strengthened armor kit forging design. Currently, aside from the Horizon Alliance's 3 copies, no one had them. Moreover, nobody knew where to obtain these forging designs. As a result, they were even more valuable than epic equipment. Regarding the currently available forging designs, Melancholic Smile had practically learned all of the designs that were available. Even if she hadn't, she at least knew about them. However, she had neither seen or heard of any of the forging designs that Xueqi had scattered all over the table before. Taking a casual glance at the forging designs, Melancholic Smile's eyes shone brilliantly. Every item these designs produced was an item that players needed desperately at this stage of the game. A majority of these forging designs contain instructions for the Lightstone. There are also some meant for level 25 to level 30 mysterious iron and secret silver equipment. You can let any advanced forging apprentice learn the Lightstone forging designs. Xueqi chuckled. Slowly he said, however, only the 3 of you can learn these equipment forging designs. You can also leave some to serve as a reward for the members who become basic forgers, but all those who wish to learn them must renew their contracts. If they want to leave the Horizon Alliance, fine. But they must first compensate the guild 20 times the value of the forging designs. If Overwhelming Smile wants to poach our members, let them have at it. Xueqi had long since guessed that Overwhelming Smile would try to poach their lifestyle players. These forging apprentices had initially joined with the intent of making a living for themselves. Since Overwhelming Smile was willing to offer an absurd salary in addition to shouldering the compensation, many would naturally be tempted. Before this, Xueqi had repeatedly told Melancholic Smile to be careful when recruiting members precisely because he wished to avoid this situation. He had also done so with the intention of informing Melancholic Smile of the severity of the matter. Not even the gods could see through the human heart, let alone mankind. Only through experiencing hardships could one grow. There were many things that one could not learn from the experience of others. Only through experience could wisdom be earned. Now that Melancholic Smile had personally experienced such a situation, in the future, she would definitely be more thorough when selecting talented players. Currently, he had a large number of Lightstone forging designs on hand. If Overwhelming Smile would willingly pay the price to poach the Alliance's members, Xueqi welcomed them to do so. The Lightstone forging designs were very common. In the past, each forging design only sold for several gold. Moreover, that was when most players had reached level 45. These forging designs were not particularly valuable. Only, current players' levels were not high enough yet to obtain them, resulting in their value increasing significantly. Based on Xueqi's initial estimates, each Lightstone forging design should be worth around several dozen gold. If he wished to acquire more Lightstone forging designs, he could obtain a ton of them anytime he wanted. This way, he would not have to wait for the profits of the Lightstones to slowly roll in. Just the 20 times compensation Overwhelming Smile had to pay for poaching each member could make a ridiculous amount of credits. He could make a fortune just by selling advanced forging apprentices. Guild leader, I will definitely be more careful when selecting who I allow to learn these forging designs. Melancholic Smile was immensely excited when she looked at the Lightstone forging designs scattered across the stone platform. However, her greatest joy was due to Xueqi's forgiveness and encouragement. It's fine. Just pick them at random. Even better, choose those who already have the heart to defect to Overwhelming Smile. Let Overwhelming Smile poach as many as they can. Otherwise, how will I make money? Xueqi laughed. But, for a moment, Melancholic Smile wanted to dissuade Xueqi. However, when she looked at the forging designs on the table, she suddenly came to a realization. I'll carry out your orders, then, guild leader. To others, the light stone forging design might be a treasure. However, judging from Xueqi's behavior, it seemed that they were not valuable in the slightest. Only others did not know this yet. They would be senseless fools if they did not profit off of overwhelming Smile's greed while they had the chance. A moment later, Melancholic Smile had picked out 3 advanced forging apprentices. Of them, 2 seriously considered defecting to Overwhelming Smile. They only held out for the right price. Hence, Melancholic Smile decided to give them this opportunity. In reality, there were many others with the same intentions within the Horizon Alliance. However, to convince others of the light stone forging design's rarity, she could not allow too many people to learn it at once. An item was as valuable as it was rare. If she did so, the light stone forging designs would lose their value. As long as these 2 advanced forging apprentices learned how to produce the light stones, their personal value would immediately skyrocket. In addition to the 2's willingness to defect, Overwhelming Smile would try to poach them at all costs. After all, not only would they deal the Candlelight trading firm a blow, they could also steal 2 of the trading firm's highly valued talents. As Melancholic Smile took care of the light stone forging design situation, Xueqi had arrived at his own exclusive forging room. He had set up a private forging room for himself in every Candlelight trading firm. Other than himself, no one was allowed into these rooms. He wanted to ensure that he would have access to a forging room at all times. Inside the quiet forging room, Xueqi carefully retrieved the god crystal from his bag. The translucent crystal ball on the stone table looked simple and ordinary. No matter how he looked at it, it was just an ordinary crystal ball. However, Orc King Trezek had sacrificed hundreds of thousands of his subordinates to obtain this treasure. Moreover, this treasure had even managed to kill a Tier 4 Sky Knight, who had learned a forbidden move, instantly. The crystal ball's worth was clear. Just what is this thing used for? Xueqi could not see anything special about the orb despite observing it carefully for a long time. Moreover, the god crystal's information stated that it was only a common item. Aside from that, no other information was displayed. It was also not in an unknown or unappraised state. Is there some hidden information about it? The more Xueqi thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. There were many amazing items in God's domain that might look ordinary, but in reality, contained power that could even shake the heavens. In the past, there had been a player who had purchased a piece of dilapidated armor at a bazaar, only to discover that the armor was actually an epic ranked armor. Such situations often occurred in God's domain. Only after triggering special conditions could one reveal the true value of a treasure. Xueqi then used Omniscient Eyes. After more than half a minute had passed, however, there was still no reaction. He could not glean anything more about the crystal ball. Is the level of my identification skill insufficient? Xueqi muttered in surprise. It can't be. I recall Charlene saying that the Omniscient Eyes activated using the Golden Stigmata is the second most powerful identification skill in God's domain. Do I need other items to activate the God Crystal's true function? Xueqi suddenly had the urge to puke blood. After wasting so much effort to steal this item, he could not actually use it. He still needed to fulfill some special requirements. Yet, he had no clue as to what those requirements were. It was utterly frustrating. Doesn't it look a bit like the dark blue crystal ball I got from the Eternal Courtyard? After the improvement to his brain's activity, Xueqi's memory had become extraordinary. Thus far, he had not been able to do anything about the dark blue crystal ball. At this moment, seeing as both items were crystal balls and were related to gods, if someone told him that the 2 items were unrelated, Xueqi would not believe them. Thinking up to this point, Xueqi left the forging room immediately and rushed towards the bank. Chapter 514. Divine Might. Inside Overwhelming Smile's guild residence in White River City. What did you say? Feng Xianyang abruptly slammed his fist down on the table. Furious, he said, those bastards suddenly raised their price? Do they take us for fools? Young master, please calm down, the slightly chubby middle-aged man advised. They have not raised their prices without reason, but because they have the capital to do so. Capital? Advanced forging apprentices like them? Overwhelming Smile has no shortage of individuals of their caliber. Feng Xuanyang's brows furrowed, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. Although his family was successful, he wasn't the only one competing to become the successor. He had joined Underworld precisely because he needed the organization's help to achieve his goal. Meanwhile, upon discovering God's domain's unique standing through Underworld's inside information, he had immediately snatched the chance and invested in the virtual reality game. As long as he could create a legacy for himself, the matter of becoming his family's successor would be set in stone. He had spent such a large sum of money to poach these people only because he wished to wound the Candlelight trading firm. Due to the ongoing war with Zero Wing, Overwhelming Smile's daily gold expenditure was massive. Hence, all of the money spent on dealing with the Candlelight trading firm right now was his. His liquid funds only amounted to several hundred millions of credits, so he could not squander it. Although advanced forging apprentices were indeed rare, with the money he possessed, he could easily hire dozens of advanced forging apprentice NPCs from the Forging Association. It was much easier and cheaper than poaching advanced forging apprentices from the Candlelight trading firm. Not only did he have to offer these people high benefits, but he also had to pay an astronomical compensation fee. Moreover, even when these forgers joined him, they were useless with their lifestyle skills reset to zero. Young Master Feng, the two I mention are somewhat special. Special. Just because they are special, they dare to raise the price we have agreed upon by 3 times. Do they really consider themselves true forgers? Young Master Feng, although they are not forgers, they have recently learned a rare forging design. They can now produce light stones. A light stone is an item that enables players to grind and level even throughout the night. With it, players will not be limited by time. Moreover, it's quite cheap to produce light stones, so it is a very lucrative product. Meanwhile, among the advanced forging apprentices of the Candlelight trading firm, only 3 have learned it. So, naturally they raised their prices. Light stone? There is actually such a thing? Have you confirmed how they managed to obtain its forging design? When he heard about the light stone's function, Feng Xianyang immediately realized how massive its value was. If he could obtain the forging designs for them, he would not need to spend money to poach the Candlelight trading firm's members. He could simply rely on the light stones to defeat the Candlelight trading firm and dominate Star Moon Kingdom's market. The Candlelight trading firm is keeping that a secret, so low-ranking members like them have no access to that information. However, I have sent someone to investigate the light stones. Though, it would seem that the Candlelight trading firm only has a limited number of light stone forging designs. Otherwise, they would not only allow 3 advanced forging apprentices to learn them. Moreover, I have also heard that the 3 forgers of Candlelight are not producing the light stones, focusing on producing the basic strengthened armor kits. It is quite possible that the trading firm is too busy and has decided to allow its advanced forging apprentices to produce the light stones instead. In other words, it is possible that Candlelight only has 3 light stone forging designs. If we can poach 2 of them, it would be a massive blow to the trading firm. You're right. If Candlelight is allowed to produce a large amount of light stones, they will become more difficult to deal with. Unfortunately, man's schemes are inferior to those made in heaven. Melancholic smile. That damnable woman. She actually dared toy with this young master. Now, I'll show her what pain means. I don't care what it takes, poach those 2. We'll be even better off if you can lure the last one as well. When Feng Xianyang recalled Melancholic Smile's arrogance, he could not help but laugh. Young Master Feng, rest assured, we already have those 2 in the bag. Only, the last one is rather obstinate. His price might be a lot higher than the others. In addition to Candlelight's latest contract, our expenditure this time might exceed 50 million, the middle-aged man said cautiously. After all, this was not a small sum of money. They had to spend 50 million credits just to poach 3 people, with a majority consisting of the compensation fee. Based on his initial estimates, the light stone forging design should be worth nearly 100 gold. If they poached all 3 forgers, they had to pay a compensation fee of 6,000 gold. Just do it. It will be worth it if we can drag all 3 of those forgers to our side, Feng Xianyang said as he gnashed his teeth. If he could steal both man and forging design, he would have done so in a heartbeat. However, the Candlelight trading firm wouldn't be so stupid. Even fools knew how precious one-of-a-kind products were. Such items could significantly increase a shop's competitive edge. Following which, the middle-aged man left the meeting room to negotiate with the advanced forging apprentices. Meanwhile, at White River City's bank, Xueqi had already rented a private warehouse for himself. If a player wished to store a truly precious item in God's Domain's banks and wanted no one else to know of it, they had the option of renting a private warehouse and private room. Without the owner's permission, nobody was allowed inside the private warehouse. However, unlike the public warehouse where the daily fee was only several copper coins, renting a private warehouse was not cheap. Inside a small private warehouse, players had 30,000 item slots. Each day's rent was 30 silver, and there was a minimum rental period of 1 month, which would be a total of 9 gold. There was a discount if players rented the warehouse for 3 months, but even then, they would still have to spend 25 gold. A medium private warehouse had to 100,000 item slots, and the daily fee was 1 gold coin. Renting for 1 month cost 30 gold while renting for 3 months cost 85 gold. A large private warehouse held up to 500,000 item slots, and the daily fee was 4 gold coins. Renting for 1 month cost 120 gold while renting for 3 months cost 350 gold. Normally, ordinary players would not rent a private warehouse at all. However, as players reached higher levels, it would become much easier to earn coins. Many players who conducted business would usually rent a private warehouse. Xueqi had rented 2 large private warehouses without hesitation. Moreover, he had rented both for 3 months. One was for himself, while the other was for the guild. This way, Aqua Rose and the others would not have to worry about spies from other guilds while retrieving items of great importance. Such incidents had not been uncommon in God's Domain in the past. There were many guilds that had not rented a private warehouse, and as a result, other guilds had learned some of their secrets. As a precaution, Xueqi had to rent one for the guild, no matter what. Xueqi then entered his private warehouse. Rows of cabinets lined the warehouse's interior neat and orderly. Xueqi immediately moved all of the items from his public warehouse to his private warehouse. The private warehouse was very human-like, and immediately, it intelligently categorized all of the items, saving Xueqi the trouble of arranging them himself. Xueqi then opened a cabinet. Inside the cabinet, there was a single dark blue crystal ball. This crystal ball was none other than the one Xueqi had obtained from the Eternal Courtyard. However, this crystal ball was too powerful. Even with Xueqi's extremely high resistance, he lost 1000 HP every second just by coming into contact with it. If ordinary players touched it, they would most likely die on the spot. Death upon touching? Xueqi recalled the situation when he had obtained the deep blue crystal ball. Suddenly, he came to a realization. Wasn't it the same situation when he had stolen the God Crystal from the Orc King? Only as the God Crystal had not been sealed yet, the Tier 4 Sky Knight had died instantly when he touched it. I wonder if it is possible? Xueqi was slightly nervous as he took out the God Crystal from his bag. Carefully, he placed it inside the cabinet, beside the dark blue crystal ball. He wanted to see just how these 2 crystal balls would react when placed together. The instant Xueqi placed the God Crystal inside the cabinet, the 2 crystal balls suddenly released a blinding glow, illuminating the private warehouse. The powerful pressure the 2 orbs gave off had caused Xueqi's body to feel heavy. Divine might! Xueqi could not help his shock. Right at this moment, the sound of a system notification rang out by his ears. System. Do you wish to remove the seal and merge the 2 crystal balls? Chapter 515. Legendary Item. After hearing the system notification, Xueqi felt both stunned and hesitant. Both the dark blue crystal ball he had obtained from the Eternal Courtyard and the God Crystal he had stolen from the Orc King were extraordinarily precious items. They were even more valuable than an epic item. Yet, he was required to merge them. If he agreed, he would lose one of the 2 items. To a reincarnated soul like Xueqi, epic items were not particularly precious. As long as his team was sufficiently strong, he had plenty of ways to obtain more epic items. However, one could not obtain items above epic rank with strength alone. A certain amount of luck and opportunity were required as well. If he disagreed, he would have to look for some other way to activate the 2 items. Forget it. Let's just go for it. Xueqi gnashed his teeth as he agreed to the merger. Suddenly, the 2 crystal balls transformed into 2 bubbles of liquid. The crystal ball Xueqi had obtained from the Eternal Courtyard transformed into a blue liquid, whereas the transparent crystal ball Xueqi had stolen from the Orc King transformed into golden liquid. The two liquids then merged, and as if they tried to devour one another, the newly formed liquid turned blue in one moment and gold in the next. Meanwhile, the divine might exuded by the both grew stronger as more time passed. Is this really a merger? Immersed in the divine might from the two liquids, Xueqi's discomfort was unbearable. After several minutes of resisting each other, the two liquids finally became one. The dark blue crystal ball from the eternal courtyard had emerged victorious. After merging, the shape of the crystal ball had also changed. Instead of a crystal ball, it was now a dark blue metallic cup. Countless tiny blue runes were engraved around the cup's exterior. There was also a faint purple ring of light flowing around the cup. At this moment, the cup's divine might was far stronger than the one Xueqi had felt before. So powerful! Xueqi exclaimed. He even dared to guarantee that this was the most powerful item he had ever seen. Even the fragmented legendary ranked Heavenly Dragon's breath was far from matching this blue metallic cup. If not for this place being a private warehouse, he would have definitely caused a commotion inside the bank's hall. Meanwhile, any players caught within the blue cup's divine might would find it impossible to move. After all, if even a Tier 1 blade saint like himself struggled, Tier 0 players didn't have a prayer. If he could control this blue cup, he would have no problems dealing with even an army of thousands of elite players. Immediately, Xueqi checked the cup's information. However, just after Xueqi clicked to check the cup's attributes, he received -5,000 frost damage, even with his finger still a distance away, instantly losing half of his HP. Damn! Isn't this a little too intense? Xueqi looked at his completely frozen hand, a layer of purple frost covering his entire arm. If his finger had moved even a little closer to the cup, he would most likely have lost his life on the spot. Xueqi then took a look at the cup's attributes. Holy Grail. Legendary item. Legend has it that the Holy Grail belongs to the Goddess of Life, and that it holds the power to bestow eternal life. However, after Ragnarok, the God of War had destroyed the Holy Grail and placed it in the eternal courtyard. The Holy Grail's restoration requires sufficient God's power. Only with an eternal heart can one truly hold the Holy Grail. Activatable skill dash. Power of evolution. Sacrifice one's own life force to evolve an item of the player's choice. However, there is a small possibility that the evolution process will fail. An evolved item's quality cannot exceed the fragmented legendary rank. Cooldown, 10 days. By the time Xueqi finished reading the cup's attributes, his jaw hung to the floor. Legendary item. This was the first time he had ever actually seen one. Although the Holy Grail was neither a weapon nor a piece of equipment, among the various types of items found in God's domain, tools such as the Holy Grail were the most difficult to obtain. They were far rarer and more precious than weapons or equipment. Moreover, looking at the Holy Grail's description, it was obvious its rank could still be increased. However, he needed power of God to do so. Items such as the God Crystal should be able to supply it. However, looking at the streams of light overflowing from the Holy Grail, Xueqi could not help but laugh bitterly. Although he had completely unsealed such an amazing item, he could not touch or control it. Xueqi had also never heard of an item called the Eternal Heart before. Just how and where was he supposed to obtain one? Fortunately, he could still use the power of evolution. After all, he didn't have to control the Holy Grail to use the skill. He only needed to sacrifice some of his life force. The term life force referred to a player's HP. For all Xueqi cared, the Holy Grail could have as much of his HP as it wanted. HM? That's not right. Xueqi thought it over for a moment, feeling that something was amiss. A skill capable of evolving an item. Such an OP skill should not only require a sacrifice of HP. Even the skill's 10-day cooldown was insignificant. God's domain always followed the rule of equivalent exchange. However, this was obviously not an equivalent exchange. Otherwise, even if the success chance wasn't 100%, having an opportunity to obtain a fragmented legendary item once every 10 days was still astounding. Obviously, Xueqi wanted to try it. The Holy Grail had a cooldown of 10 days. If he did not activate it now, wouldn't it be a waste? Which item should I evolve? Xueqi looked through his warehouse and bag, feeling very indecisive. He only had one chance to evolve an item every 10 days. If the item he evolved now had little use to him, he would suffer a huge loss. Should I evolve the 7 Luminaries ring? Xueqi could not help but stare at the 7 Luminaries ring around his finger. As the replica of a godly relic, it was already frighteningly powerful, even at only epic rank. If the ring were upgraded to fragmented legendary rank, it would be godlike. No. Xueqi immediately shook his head. If he upgraded the ring to fragmented legendary rank, the equipment requirement would definitely soar. He wouldn't be able to equip the ring. The impact on his current strength would be painful. Moreover, Xueqi did not doubt that the success rate of evolving an item to fragmented legendary rank would be abysmally low. It would be a huge pity to waste an opportunity to evolve an item. The best choice he could make right now was to evolve a dark gold item to an epic item. With this idea, Xueqi shifted his gaze to the Purgatory's shadow. As a dark gold weapon, if he could promote it to an epic weapon, then it would increase his overall combat power significantly. At that time, even Summer Sunshine would easily suffer defeat at his hands. As the leader of a guild, however, his first and foremost priority was to increase his guild's strength. Currently, his personal strength was sufficient. Even if he became slightly stronger, it would not impact the guild. Suddenly, a streak of light flashed past Xueqi's eyes. That's right. How could I forget? There's still the Icarus's heart. Xueqi laughed. If he evolved Icarus's heart, it would help the guild tremendously. Just the meager 5 points of luck it provided had allowed him to obtain so many Tier 1 set equipment. If he could evolve Icarus's heart further, raising the luck it provided even a little, couldn't he obtain even better items? Although Icarus's heart was already capable of evolving, he needed the souls of Lord-ranked monsters to do so. Even so, based on Xueqi's estimates, he should only be able to evolve Icarus's heart to dark gold rank at maximum. After all, it was an item he got from a dark gold treasure chest. It was utterly impossible for him to obtain an epic-ranked necklace. I'll choose you. Xueqi smiled as he removed Icarus's heart from his neck. He then adjusted the 7 Luminaries ring to the aura of water and activated Life Bloom, healing himself. Previously, he had received a significant amount of damage just by approaching the Holy Grail. He would have to touch it again, so he had to heal himself back to full HP. He could not afford to miss any. In a moment, Xueqi's 10,000 plus HP recovered to full. Xueqi then tapped on the touchscreen that was very close to the Holy Grail, choosing to use Power of Evolution. The instant his finger collided with the touchscreen, Xueqi lost 7,000 HP. However, Life Bloom quickly regenerated a significant amount of the missing HP. Only when he recovered to full HP did Xueqi proceed to select Icarus's heart as the target of evolution. System: are you willing to permanently lose 400 HP to evolve the Icarus's heart? Crap, that's the requirement? Xueqi could not help but curse. It was actually a permanent loss. No wonder it could allow an item evolve to a maximum of fragmented legendary rank. Chapter 516. Successful Evolution. In God's domain, aside from leveling up, it was extremely difficult for players to obtain permanent attributes. Losing 400 HP, or the equivalent of 20 endurance points, would significantly weaken a player. Even Xueqi would mourn the attribute loss, let alone other players. However, despite having seen the true side of the power of evolution, Xueqi still chose to sacrifice 400 HP, albeit begrudgingly. Although 400 HP was precious, it could not beat being able to upgrade the Icarus's heart to epic rank. Moreover, Xueqi knew of several methods to increase his endurance permanently. He could easily make up for the loss he suffered now. Xueqi then clicked agree, and suddenly, the strength of the Holy Grail's divine might soared. In the next moment, strands of green light flowed from Xueqi's body and into the Holy Grail. After the Holy Grail absorbed 400 HP from Xueqi, it fired a purple ray at the Icarus's heart. Immediately, the Icarus's heart released a brilliant golden glow, forcing Xueqi to shut his eyes. After the golden radiance faded, Xueqi opened his eyes and looked at the Icarus's heart, discovering that the necklace now emitted a faint purple glow. Was it a success? Xueqi was somewhat nervous as he examined the necklace's attributes. If it had failed, then he had permanently lost 400 HP for nothing. Moreover, he would also have to wait for 10 days before the next sacrifice. However, after investigating the Icarus's heart's attributes, Xuefeng's tightened fists relaxed as excitement quickly overtook him. That's right. It was a success. Icarus's heart, necklace, mysterious iron rank can be evolved. Equipment requirement. All attributes 120. Level 20. Level 80. Currently level 30. All attributes plus 18. Luck plus 7. Additional skill. Divine Providence. Temporarily increases players' luck by 25 points for 30 seconds. Cooldown. 45 minutes. Evolution condition. Absorb the life force of 300 players to evolve to secret silver rank. 0/300. After evolving, Icarus's heart's rank had upgraded from bronze to mysterious iron. The luck it provided had increased from 5 points to 7 points. Aside from that, Divine Providence's cooldown had decreased from 1 hour to 45 minutes. This would save Xuefeng a lot of time. However, the best improvement by far was the change to the evolution conditions. Originally, the Icarus's heart required Xuefeng to kill Lord-ranked monsters. Moreover, it required 100 kills. Lords were extremely rare, and Xuefeng would have to waste a lot of time to kill 100. Now that the conditions had been adjusted, Xuefeng only needed to kill 300 players and absorb their life force instead. A lord was very difficult to find, but players crowded the streets. As long as Xuefeng worked hard, he could upgrade Icarus's heart to epic rank very quickly. At that time, he would gain massive profits from opening the Twilight treasure chests. At the thought, Xuefeng could not help but grow restless. If not for the ongoing war with Overwhelming Smile, he would have struggled to find opponents. Now, however, his target was clear. He would use Overwhelming Smile's players as sacrifices for the Icarus's heart. Now that Overwhelming Smile's White River City branch has been defeated, it won't be easy to find large groups of players. I might as well make a trip to Maple City and have a look at the situation there. After some consideration, Xuefeng felt that Maple City was the best location to take action. Overwhelming Smile had already become Maple City's overlord. The Overwhelming Smile members there had nothing to fear within the region of Maple City. It would be far easier for Xuefeng to find targets there than in White River City. Xuefeng then slipped the Icarus's heart over his head and headed for White River City's teleportation hall. Xuefeng very much looked forward to upgrading the Icarus's heart to epic rank. Not even the night in God's domain could hinder Xuefeng's yearning. The sooner he upgraded the necklace to epic rank, the sooner he could obtain better items from the Twilight treasure chests. One could obtain even epic items from the Twilight treasure chests. If he could get his hands on several epic items, he could help the guild tremendously. Naturally, he would upgrade it sooner rather than later. As for the matter regarding the Lightstones, he fully trusted Melancholic Smile's capabilities. Xuefeng believed that it wouldn't be long before the Lightstones raked in a massive income. Just as Xuefeng arrived before the teleportation hall, the sound of his communicator rang near his ears. The caller this time was none other than Gentle Snow, who had been busy consolidating her power as the new guild leader of Ouroboros. Although Gentle Snow had chased away her biggest competitor, Chao Chenghua, the resulting internal struggles within Ouroboros had resulted in the first-rate guild falling apart. If Gentle Snow wished to consolidate her power, she would need to spend a lot of time and effort to do so. In addition, a more powerful opponent, the first-rate guild Star Alliance, lurked, waiting to strike. Xuefeng had never thought that Gentle Snow would have the spare time to contact him with the burdens she currently shouldered. Guild leader Black Flame, may I ask if you have the time to speak right now? In the video call, Gentle Snow still wore the calm and elegant smile she usually displayed. She looked like a goddess that was high above mortals. It felt as if she were in control of everything. However, though she appeared completely fine on the surface, her act did not deceive Xuefeng. He could feel that Gentle Snow had grown frilier than before. Seeing a superwoman like Gentle Snow so exhausted, one could just imagine how terrible Ouroboros' current situation was. However, giving the situation some thought, Xuefeng felt that such an outcome was expected. Gentle Snow had just taken control of Ouroboros. The number of people she could trust was limited. Meanwhile, after ruling Ouroboros for so many years, Chao Chenghua would not give up so easily after being kicked out of his position. In addition to a great enemy like the Star Alliance threatening the guild, it would be very difficult for Gentle Snow to cope. Miss Snow, there is no need to mince words. Our guilds are allies, so feel free to speak your mind, Xueqi spoke candidly. Gentle Snow revealed a bitter smile on her pure and delicate face upon hearing Xueqi's words. Guild leader Black Flame's senses are as sharp as always. I'll speak openly, then. I'm calling about the candlelight trading firm that suddenly appeared on one of Star Moon City's golden lands and the candlelight trading firms in White River City. I can't think of anyone in the entire Star Moon Kingdom other than you who is capable of launching such firms. That's right. I am indeed the founder. Xueqi did not try to hide it. To begin with, he had no need to do so. He had spoken with Gentle Snow about his plans to establish a lifestyle guild long ago. Back then, he had hoped to utilize Ouroboros's fame to promote his trading firm. Even without Gentle Snow's call today, he had prepared to seek her help to promote the candlelight trading firm at an appropriate time. As a first-rate guild, Ouroboros had a large number of members scattered across Star Moon Kingdom. Practically every major city in Star Moon Kingdom housed the guild's members. There were even branches in other kingdoms. If the guild helped with promotion, the candlelight trading firm's business would flourish. However, the supply of basic strengthened armor kits simply could not meet the demand. Even if Ouroboros promoted the firm right now, it would not significantly increase the firm's income. Hence Xueqi had decided to hold off on seeking Gentle Snow's help for the moment. Excellent. This will make things easy. I want to invest into the candlelight trading firm. I don't want a lot of shares. 20% will do. Naturally, I will compensate you appropriately. The compensation will include 30% of Ouroboros's shares, as well as funds, channels, and materials, which will allow the trading firm to develop quickly. What do you think of my offer? Chapter 517. Fate makes fools of the people. One had to admit that Gentle Snow's proposal was tempting. Even Zhao Yueru and the elders of Ouroboros standing beside Gentle Snow were shocked by her offer. After all was said and done, Ouroboros was a bona fide first-rate guild and possessed a massive fortune. The guild had only achieved its current status after striving for many years. Although the guild's internal struggles were serious, the guild itself was still frighteningly strong. Second-rate guilds were still no match for it. Yet, just for 20% of the shares of a trading firm, Gentle Snow actually intended to trade 30% of Ouroboros's shares for 20% of the trading firm, in addition to providing various funds and channels. This decision was simply insane. Snow, have you gone mad? You only hold 50% of Ouroboros's shares right now, yet, you're actually going to give Black Flame 30%? What will you do if Black Flame joins hands with Chao Chenghua? Zhao Yueru persuaded her friend softly. Although Zhao Yueru trusted Black Flame, 30% of Ouroboros's shares was simply too important. If utilized properly, Gentle Snow could easily persuade more of the guild's elders to her side. That way, Chao Chenghua would not be able to impact the guild so easily. Utilizing the guild's shares to boost Gentle Snow's strength and solidify the guild was far more valuable than obtaining 20% of the candlelight trading firm's shares. That's right, young Madam Snow. You have to consider this carefully. Those shares are the last resort left by young master for you to keep Chao Chenghua in check. Although Chao Chenghua can no longer play God's domain, in the real world, his authority in the company has not been affected in the slightest. If you give those shares to someone else and lose this protective talisman, he can easily join hands with the other shareholders of the company to oppose you. A man nearing his 50s in butler clothing similarly attempted to persuade Gentle Snow. You don't have to say any more. I know what I am doing. Gentle Snow shook her head, waiting for Xueqi's reply. She was no fool. She knew this was not a worthwhile transaction. Even so, she insisted on conducting such a trade to deepen the relationship between their two guilds. Although she was the guild leader of Ouroboros and one of the major shareholders of the company, neither her authority nor her words were of any use. Unfortunately, although she had tried to nurture plenty of people herself, there were too few capable personnel under her command. It was especially true for experts in God's domain. Chao Chenghua had managed Ouroboros for many years now, so he had previously had the time and resources to nurture plenty of experts. Due to her premature victory over Chao Chenghua in God's domain, he had decisively ordered all of the experts under him to abandon the guild. In addition, Chao Chunghua had also roped in many of the guild's elders and had secretly been transferring personnel out of the guild, gradually splitting Ouroboros in half. If Ouroboros split in half, then the share she had on hand would be meaningless. Hence, she might as well use it to pull Zero Wing to her side. Although Zero Wing seemed only to occupy a single city right now and looked to be inferior to many second-rate guilds, Zero Wing City had the second highest population in Star Moon Kingdom. That was far better than occupying 3 to 5 minor cities with a population of only several 100,000 players. In particular, after seeing Yi Feng's and Violet Cloud's performance. Although Zero Wing was still a fledgling guild right now, Gentle Snow had seen Zero Wing's small, but sharp, fangs. When the time was right, Zero Wing would rip apart all enemies in its way and become Star Moon Kingdom's overlord. At this moment, just the fact that Black Flame had managed to establish a candlelight trading firm on one of Star Moon City's golden lands displayed the man's capabilities and power. Meanwhile, Shifeng was similarly stunned by Gentle Snow's proposal. He had never expected Gentle Snow to make such a tempting offer. However, Shifeng still shook his head and said, "Miss Snow, your offer is indeed very tempting. However, please allow me to refuse." "Refuse? Why?" Gentle Snow asked in disbelief, her beautiful eyes widening with shock. Her proposal was no different than shoving money at Shifeng's face. If Zero Wing and Ouroboros joined forces, not only could they make up for each other's deficiencies, but it would also become more convenient for their two guilds on their paths to becoming the overlords of Star Moon Kingdom. She could not fathom why Shifeng would reject such a proposal. "As I understand it, I know that you hope to deal with Ouroboros' internal problems quickly, but I do not want Zero Wing to get mixed up in the internal struggles of other guilds," Shifeng explained. "However, I have another proposal that Miss Snow might be interested in." "Another proposal?" Gentle Snow could not help but ask curiously. "It's very simple. Miss Snow simply needs to bring Ouroboros' members into Zero Wing. I can give Miss Snow 15% of Zero Wing's shares." Although Shifeng's voice was utterly calm, his words were astoundingly shocking. "Are you trying to annex Ouroboros?" Gentle Snow said, slightly indignant. Ouroboros did not belong to her entirely. Originally, it should have been her brother's. Only, due to her brother having an accident, Chao Chunghua had taken the opportunity to weasel his way to the top. And all this time, she had been thinking of a way to help Ouroboros recover its past glory. So how could she possibly agree to merge Ouroboros and Zero Wing right now? "Is there a difference?" Shifeng countered. "Ouroboros exists only in name now. Although you have acquired the position of Ouroboros' guild leader, you do not possess the corresponding authority. Sooner or later, Ouroboros will split in half, so why not join Zero Wing instead?" Shifeng had his own considerations regarding Ouroboros. In reality, Ouroboros was not all that important to him. The only reason he had decided to offer 15% of Zero Wing's shares was solely due to the war goddess herself, Gentle Snow. Everything else meant little to him. In the past, Chao Chunghua had defeated Gentle Snow. With the entire guild pitted against her, it was only natural that she had lost. Aside from Gentle Snow's most trusted followers, not a single person had stood with Gentle Snow. How could she have won? Even if her own abilities were amazing and her strength famed throughout God's domain, the people's aspirations could not be easily swayed just by strength alone. Although Shifeng had helped Gentle Snow win the competition this time, her fate had not changed much. In this life, she was simply the one standing on the righteousness rather than Chao Chunghua. Even so, the majority of Ouroboros' members were still Chao Chunghua's subordinates. He could just withdraw his men and form his own guild. Only, the price he would have to pay would not be small. However, Chao Chunghua had no other choice. In the end, Ouroboros would disband. What point was there for Gentle Snow to strive so hard? It would be much better for her to take the opportunity, while a small portion of the guild still supported her, to join Zero Wing. Time crawled by. Both sides silently looked at each other. At this moment, complex emotions filled Gentle Snow's heart. She had won the competition, but lost the guild. This sentence fit her situation perfectly. Despite her desperate efforts to preserve the guild, at the end of the day, she could not escape her fate. "Fate makes fools of the people," Gentle Snow quietly exclaimed. She then looked at Zhao Yueru and the several guild elders beside her. They were all people whom she trusted the most. By the time Chao Chunghua extracted all of his underlings from Ouroboros, the guild would only exist in name. At that time, it would be very difficult for the guild to continue in Star Moon Kingdom. After all, Ouroboros and the Star Alliance were sworn enemies. Even if Ouroboros only existed in name, the Star Alliance would not let it off the hook. Only when the guild had thoroughly erased Ouroboros from God's domain would it rest. Chapter 5:18. Breaking the Balance. After some time, Gentle Snow released a small sigh. Xueqi could see the helplessness Gentle Snow struggled with through the screen. However, her reaction was only natural. After all, who would willingly merge the guild they had spent an endless amount of effort to establish with another guild? However, Xueqi had his own considerations as well. Even if Zero Wing and Ouroboros were allies, the guilds resided in two different cities. And as no one could predict the future, both Zero Wing's upper management and its guild members had to keep up their guard constantly. In order to avoid adding to Zero Wing's worries, the best result would be to annex Ouroboros. It was truly hilarious. A little guild like Zero Wing actually dared to annex a first-rate guild. However, Xueqi possessed the strength and confidence to succeed. Zero Wing currently possessed many experts. There was also a continuous supply of funds from the candlelight trading firm, so Zero Wing could afford to annex a gigantic existence like Ouroboros. Moreover, after receiving Ouroboros's trade channels, the candlelight trading firm could profit further. In addition, after operating in the virtual gaming world for so many years, Ouroboros must have accumulated plenty of old customers, who were very rich and willing to spend lots of money in virtual reality games, as well as corporate sponsors. Otherwise, the guild would not have such an impressive income. Zero Wing Workshop was currently still developing their customer base. If the workshop could claim Ouroboros's old customers, it could very quickly earn large sums of credits, unlike the workshop's current state where it was without a stable income and required Xueqi to look for a source himself. Guild leader Black Flame, I need some time to consider this matter, Gentle Snow said after calming down. Since guild leader Black Flame has no intentions of selling the candlelight trading firm's shares, may I purchase some coins from you? Although there were plenty of people selling their coins on the virtual trade center, the available volume was very small. Moreover, every other guild in the game was also attempting to purchase coins in bulk, making it practically impossible to purchase large sums. Thus, Ouroboros could only rely on its own money farming teams to cover the guild's daily expenses. Miss Snow, you should know how tight the various guilds are for coins right now. However, if you're only interested in purchasing a small sum, there should be no issues. May I know how much you are looking to buy? Xueqi asked. Although he had spent quite a lot of money already, both the Star Streak trading firm and the Candlelight trading firm provided him with a significant daily income. He could easily sell 1,000 or 2,000 gold. I don't want much. 5,000 gold will do, Gentle Snow stated after giving the matter some thought. I can transfer 50 million credits for them immediately. With 5,000 gold, she should barely be able to stabilize Ouroboros's current situation. If she established a guild residence and gave the guild members some hope, it would make it more difficult for Chao Chunghua to lure players away. 5,000? Miss Snow, you think too highly of me. Xueqi smiled bitterly. How about this? I can sell you 2,000 gold at market price. However, I will require Ouroboros's help to purchase a few plots of land in Star Moon Kingdom's top 10 cities and to promote the Candlelight trading firm. Coin's market value constantly depreciated. Currently, one gold coin was worth about 6,000 credits. One could roughly purchase a piece of level 25 mysterious iron equipment or level 20 secret silver equipment with that kind of money. Gentle Snow's offer to purchase 5,000 gold at 50 million credits was far above market value. However, even if she had 50 million credits, she couldn't even purchase 4,000 gold, much less 5,000. Otherwise, those corporate giants would have long since bought up all the available lands in major cities. One could say that coins were at their peak value right now. If one could purchase a good plot of land now, they could earn back the money spent by 10, or even dozens of times. These massive corporations naturally would not hold back from spending their credits. Unfortunately, such a thing was simply not possible. 2,000 gold? Gentle Snow was immediately stunned. Before, she had only mentioned 5,000 gold with the intention of probing Zero Wing's bottom line. Throughout God's domain, there was not a single guild that was capable of revealing 5,000 gold. Yet Xueqi had just casually mentioned that he would sell her 2,000 gold. 2,000 gold. In order to acquire so much money, she would have to spend several days relentlessly trying to purchase coins and draft the guild's money farming teams and her confidants. On the other hand, even after purchasing so many golden lands, Xueqi could still afford to sell 2,000 gold. His financial prowess was unmatched. Is it not enough? Xueqi pondered for a moment before saying, I can offer you 3,000 gold at most. If it is still not enough, you will have to look for other avenues yourself. Gentle Snow had helped him plenty of times, so he would not kick her while she was down. He would help her to the best of his abilities so long as it was within his capability. Although he had a lot of money, he needed that money to purchase lands and set up shops in other cities. Besides that, he also needed to leave some for the guild in case of emergencies. Thanks, I'll transfer the money to you right away, Gentle Snow said, inwardly feeling overjoyed. With 3,000 gold in addition to the 2,000 gold she currently had on hand, she would have enough to purchase a plot of land and establish Ouroboros's guild residence, as well as maintain the guild's daily expenses. This way, Chao Chunghua would find it far more difficult to tear the guild. After Xueqi sold 3,000 gold to Gentle Snow through the virtual trade center, he then teleported to Maple City. Maple City was also considered a major city in Star Moon Kingdom's eastern region. The city had nearly 1 million players. This was also one of the reasons that many people had an optimistic opinion of Overwhelming Smile. Aside from a few small guilds, Overwhelming Smile was the only large guild residing in the city. It had already chased any major competition out of Maple City. One could say that Overwhelming Smile had fortified itself in Maple City. It would be very difficult for other guilds to cause even the slightest bit of trouble here. At this moment, as Xueqi wandered through Maple City's streets, the majority of the players he saw on his walk consisted of Overwhelming Smile's members. Every one of these Overwhelming Smile members flaunted their arrogance, and players of other guilds could only do their best to avoid standing in the way. Overwhelming Smile has set up a trading firm in Maple City. The shop's name is Overwhelming Trading Firm, and it's in the Central District. The items there are much cheaper than the ones in NPC shops. They also offer plenty of items that are not available in NPC shops. If everyone is interested, please go take a look. Many Overwhelming Smile members loudly promoted the Overwhelming Trading Firm, attracting many players' attention. After all, player-owned shops were far better than NPCs. In particular, none of the NPCs' shops sold whetstones. Normally, they could only purchase such items from forging apprentices. Unlike White River City, Maple City did not possess a Star Streak trading firm that allowed players to purchase many items not normally found in NPC shops. Overwhelming really is the dominant force here. Unfortunately, that will only hold true for now. Xueqi currently sat under a small outdoor pavilion, sipping wine as he observed the lively streets of Maple City. In a moment, a middle-aged man close to his 40s arrived before Xueqi. Respectfully he said, "Hello, Guild Leader Black Flame. My name is Liang Chen. Guild Leader Snow has sent me to you. Here is the agreement stating that I will purchase land on your behalf. Please look through it." "Thank you for your efforts." Xueqi received the agreement and gave it a quick glance. After making sure that everything was in order, he signed his name and said, "Let's head to the city hall and proceed then." Chapter 519, Silent Massacre. Inside Maple City's City Hall. At this moment, Liang Chen, the person whom Gentle Snow had delegated to assist Xueqi in purchasing land, was utterly stupefied. Without hesitation, Xueqi had purchased a plot of land located in the central district of the city that cost over 2,000 gold. Immediately after, he established a luxury shop for 1,000 gold. In total, Xueqi had spent over 3,000 gold in a span of just a few breaths. Liang Chen was someone whom Gentle Snow trusted absolutely, so she had already shared her knowledge regarding Xueqi. Hence, Liang Chen knew that Xueqi had sold Gentle Snow 3,000 gold not long ago. Otherwise, he would not have exposed the fact that he already had enough reputation in Maple City to become a baron. Although Maple City was not as good as White River City, the number of players who had reached the reputation of a baron was still extremely low. There should only be 2 or 3 such players throughout Maple City right now. Previously, Xueqi had spent 3,000 gold. Now, he had spent over 3,000 gold once again. This level of wealth far surpassed Ouroboros. With such financial prowess, who could possibly challenge Zero Wing in a war of attrition? Only now did Liang Chen finally realize why Overwhelming Smile, a guild that had managed to dominate Maple City, had failed to defeat Zero Wing, and why Zero Wing was publicly acknowledged as White River City's #1 guild. The other first-rate guild's upper managers believed in their hearts that, although it was no match for Zero Wing in White River City, particularly in terms of the number of experts each guild possessed, Overwhelming Smile would still emerge victorious. After all, Overwhelming Smile possessed ample funds, whereas Zero Wing was a guild with no background or capital at all. At most, Zero Wing could only hold out for a bit longer. However, now that Liang Chen re-examined the situation, even 3 Overwhelming Smiles would not be enough to defeat Zero Wing. It seems the sky in Maple City will change soon, Liang Chen inwardly sighed. After learning more about God's domain, the various guilds had obtained a general understanding of its rules. If a guild wanted to become an overlord in the game, they required 3 things: experts, financial prowess consisting mainly of coins, and member count. Among these 3 points, member count was the least important as it was very easy to increase a guild's population. As long as a guild possessed sufficient financial prowess, they could increase their member count indefinitely. God's Domain was different from past virtual reality games where member count was a guild's top priority. In past virtual reality games, the differences between each individual player were simply too small. In these games, numbers equaled power. If one person was not enough, then they could just send a group. If a group was not enough, then they could send 100 players. Sooner or later, they were bound to exhaust their enemies to death. Unfortunately, God's Domain was different. A single top-tier expert could single-handedly dominate an entire region. Moreover, unlike in past virtual reality games, the top-tier experts of God's Domain were not easily produced. In the past, one could easily become a top-tier expert if they had sufficiently powerful equipment. Now, however, players needed sufficiently powerful combat techniques to qualify as a top-tier expert. Meanwhile, Overwhelming Smile was far behind Zero Wing regarding both experts and financial prowess. The result of the confrontation between the 2 guilds was already self-evident. In reality, so long as Overwhelming Smile hurriedly established their trade and earned large sums of money through it, they would have a fighting chance. Only, now that Xueqi had arrived, how could Overwhelming Smile contend with Star Moon Kingdom's chief forger with its few lifestyle players? Moreover, the Candlelight trading firm possessed 3 bona fide forgers. They were several times more powerful than advanced forging apprentices. The Candlelight trading firm also possessed the tactical weapon known as the basic strengthened armor kits. Simply put, Overwhelming Smile stood no chance of victory whatsoever. After Xueqi obtained some information regarding Maple City from Liang Chen, he hurried towards the city's teleportation hall. From the information Liang Chen had given him, Xueqi basically knew all of Overwhelming Smile's elite members' preferred grinding locations. He could use this chance to sacrifice these players to the Icarus's heart. Guild's elite members were different from ordinary players. When night arrived, ordinary players would usually return to their respective cities to rest or log out of the game, whereas elite players would continue leveling out in the fields. Because of their equipment or combat techniques, elite players had no reason to fear the monsters at night. Only, their leveling speed would slow somewhat this time of day. Even so, it was much better than others who could not level up at all. Even if their leveling speed were slower at night, they would gradually widen the gap between themselves and other players. As a result, the levels of guild elite members were usually a lot higher than ordinary players. Meanwhile, Overwhelming Smile's main grinding location was the Dragon Ridge. Dragon Ridge was a level 25 to 30 leveling area. The monsters inside consisted of dragon men. Dragon men were born with thick scales and had inherited the unparalleled strength of dragons. They were natural-born warriors. Moreover, as they were a small branch of the dragon race, dragon men also had an innate love for collecting treasures. Hence, dragon men had significantly higher drop rates. There were also many quests available in Dragon Ridge that required players to deal with the dragon men, so many players loved to level here. However, Overwhelming Smile monopolized the high resource areas within Dragon Ridge. So, other players could only complete some kill quests for dragon men in areas with low monster populations. Shortly after, Xueqi teleported to Dragon Ridge and was in the midst of searching for Overwhelming Smile members. Melancholic Smile suddenly contacted him. Guild leader, I've completed the task you gave me. Sure enough, they tried to steal all 3 advanced forging apprentices who have learned the light stone forging design, regardless of cost. In the end, all 3 defected, Melancholic Smile said excitedly. With all 3 advanced forging apprentices poached, that meant the firm had received the compensation for 3 light stone forging designs. They had earned nearly 50 million credits just like that. As for the loss of the 3 advanced forging apprentices, Melancholic Smile was utterly unaffected. After the candlelight trading firm had developed itself, the benefits it provided its members were extremely good. The firm's forgers also received an unlimited supply of materials. As long as they worked hard, they could earn a lot of money. Hence, many forging apprentices had arrived to apply to the firm. Among them, there was no lack of intermediate forging apprentices. As long as the firm nurtured them a little, it would have another batch of advanced forging apprentices in no time. Although Overwhelming Smile had successfully stolen many players from the candlelight trading firm, the firm's advanced forging apprentice count had not decreased since its establishment. On the contrary, they had accumulated more forgers. Good. Xueqi similarly smiled. With this sum and what he received from Gentle Snow, he could soon carry out his expert training plan. Right, how many light stones have been produced so far? I have secretly recruited dozens of advanced forging apprentices in other cities, and they are frantically producing light stones in their respective cities' forging associations. They are still unfamiliar with the production process at the moment, so their production is somewhat slow. Even so, we already have several hundred stones. In 1 or 2 days, we should accumulate up to 20,000 pieces, Melancholic Smile said confidently. At that time, Candlelight will become a household name. I guarantee that Candlelight will become Star Moon Kingdom's #1 trading firm. Melancholic Smile had spoken these words not out of arrogance, but because the light stone's value was simply immeasurable. Both elite players and ordinary players could afford them. Considering the number of players producing the light stones right now, they could supply several cities' worth of players. After Melancholic Smile finished a report, Xueqi had stealthily arrived at the inner region of Dragon Ridge. At this moment, one could see lights flickering occasionally through the dark and quiet forest, coupled with the sounds of explosions. The cause of these phenomena was none other than Overwhelming Smile's elite players grinding dragon men. These Overwhelming Smile elites were very organized. Forming groups of 20, the team of 100 took turns battling the dragon men army. They fought with great efficiency. While one group fought, the others would rest and remain vigilant of their surroundings, preventing other monsters from ambushing them. You guys will be it. Xueqi smiled. Chapter 520. Expert hidden in the dark. Overwhelming Smile's 100-man team currently grinded a dragonmen nest in shifts. In the Dragon Ridge, dragonmen nests were considered treasure lands. One could find various treasure chests inside these nests. Moreover, at least one boss guarded every nest. These bosses were usually chieftain and lord rank, but rarely the latter. Nests were also high resource areas, and they were suitable locations for elite teams to level up and upgrade their equipment. This 100-man team from Overwhelming Smile had not noticed Xueqi's slow approach at all. However, when Xueqi was roughly 100 yards away from the team, he suddenly stopped. Why is he here? Xueqi was confused when he saw the thinly built man standing at the forefront of Overwhelming Smile's team. Xueqi's equipment and attributes far surpassed current players of God's domain. Moreover, with a powerful identification skill like the omniscient eyes, his vision was naturally superior to ordinary players. Even during at night, his vision was not significantly affected. Meanwhile, the thinly built man he saw was none other than Warwolf, a true top-tier expert he had met several times before. At this moment, Warwolf was already a level 27 Tier 1 shield warrior. His equipment had also undergone major changes. Currently, he wore nothing but level 25 dark gold ranked items, and his HP was close to 7,000. Compared to Zero Wings Chief MT, Kola, Warwolf was only slightly inferior. However, the most significant change about the man would have to be the guild emblem on his chest. Xueqi had once attempted to recruit Warwolf to Zero Wing. However, the latter had expressed his dislike of being bound by a guild, so Xueqi had given up. Yet, now, not only had Warwolf joined a guild, but the guild he had joined was also Overwhelming Smile. How could this not shock Xueqi? No wonder Overwhelming Smile's dungeon raiding progress in Maple City is so fast. It turns out that they have his help. Xueqi came to a realization. He had personally witnessed how skilled Warwolf was. With the help of the Tier 1 Shield Warrior, Overwhelming Smile would not need long to clear a team dungeon. However, Xueqi could not figure out just how Overwhelming Smile had managed to persuade Warwolf. On this 100-man elite team, aside from Warwolf, Xueqi could also see several more experts. These people were clearly different from the elite members of Overwhelming Smile. A decisive aura surrounded their bodies, and in terms of attacking and dodging, they were obviously a cut above Overwhelming Smile's elite members. Several of these experts had even reached the level of a true expert. No matter which guild they joined, they would be their guild's top combatants. Regarding combat techniques and experience, none of these people were less than Ouroboros's soaring snake. Overwhelming Smile really knows how to hide its secrets. Fortunately, I discovered this ahead of time. If these people gradually accumulate their power in the dark, they will become a vicious threat to Zero Wing in the future. After watching for some time, Xueqi discovered that there were 7 true experts in this 100-man team. Including Warwolf, there were 8. Not even Zero Wing possessed so many true experts. Although the 7 others were inferior to Warwolf, they were most likely stronger than Cola and the 5 demon generals. Only Flying Shadow of the 5 demon generals was close to being a match for these 7 experts. If it really came down to a battle, if Flying Shadow did not possess the advantage in attributes, he would not last against any of these experts. The only ones who could contend with these 7 people were Fire Dance, Aqua Rose, and Violet Cloud. Of course, regarding growth potential, Cola alone was already far above these 7 people. Not to mention Aqua Rose and Violet Cloud, who had the potential to reach God tier. In God's domain, every peerless expert capable of reaching God tier was an extraordinary existence. Experts who had only touched on the refinement realm stood no chance against them. Furthermore, these experts' combat techniques resembled Warwolf's. It was clear that they had only achieved the skill they had today after training with Warwolf for many years. Meanwhile, Cola, Fire Dance, Flying Shadow, and the others were only ordinary people. In the past, they had to rely on themselves and undergo countless trials and errors to attain what they had. The number of experts in God's domain is limitless. I really can't afford to take things lightly. After seeing these experts, Xueqi suddenly felt that he was too negligent. The world's population was massive. Adding to the fact that this was an era of technology and humanity as a whole focused on physical fitness, there were countless capable people throughout the world. Even though he had been the guild leader of a second-rate guild in the past, he had only seen a small fraction of God's domain. He was just a frog at the bottom of a well. There were still plenty of secrets about God's domain that a minor character like him was not qualified to see. Take Warwolf, for example. In the past, Xueqi had never once heard of the man before, yet the strength Warwolf displayed was already so powerful. He definitely had a high chance of becoming a Tier 6 God-ranked expert in the future. Meanwhile, this was only Star Moon Kingdom. There were hundreds of kingdoms and empires in God's domain, and kingdoms held the fewest experts. One could just imagine how many experts and secrets there were in God's domain that he was still unaware of. It seems that I'll have to proceed with the experts' training plan quickly. Although Xueqi had wanted to train Fire Dance and the others, pushing them into the refinement realm to become true top-tier experts as soon as possible, he was simply too busy to do so. He also did not have the appropriate facilities or supplies. Hence, he had told Fire Dance and the others to train by themselves for now. Seeing that Warwolf and his team ventured deeper into the Dragonman's nest, Xueqi did not rush to take action. Instead, he followed after the team secretly, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. It was not because Xueqi was incapable of killing these players. Rather, he hoped to take care of these experts in one go. It was especially true for Warwolf. Before, although Warwolf was not his friend, they had not been enemies, either. Now that Warwolf had joined Overwhelming Smile, however, that meant that Warwolf stood against Zero Wing. Naturally, Xueqi could not let him go. However, Xueqi was only one man. Facing a team of 100 players, if these elites focused on escaping with their lives, how could Xueqi possibly kill every one of them? Not to mention, there were 8 top-tier experts in their midst. Among them, There was also a thorny existence like War Wolf. If War Wolf and the 7 other experts cooperated to deal with him, even Xueqi would face the threat of death. Hence, Xueqi was not in a hurry to attack. First and foremost, a good hunter required patience. A hunter also needed to have a firm grasp of timing. The first ambush was particularly important. Xueqi had long since become familiar with ambushing his enemies. Unfortunately, the terrain was simply too spacious. Forests also covered the surrounding environment, making it easy for players to escape and hide their trails. Naturally, Xueqi could not act rashly and prematurely expose himself. Moreover, time was on his side at the moment. It was already night time in God's domain, and players' vision significantly weakened during this time of day. If Xueqi hid under the cover of darkness, it would be even more difficult to discover him. In addition, Xueqi was currently level 30. He was much higher leveled than the monsters inside the Dragonman's nest, so it would not be easy for monsters to detect him. Time passed slowly, and Xueqi followed Warwolf's team as they pushed deeper into the nest. With nothing better to do, Xueqi opened Twilight treasure chests whenever Divine Providence was ready. After the Icarus's heart had evolved, the luck attribute it provided had significantly increased. Upon activating Divine Providence, Xueqi's luck could reach a maximum of 32 points. That was 7 points higher than before. With each use of Divine Providence, Xueqi could open up to 9 treasure chests, and among these 9 treasure chests, there was a very high probability of Xueqi obtaining 1 or 2 pieces of Tier 1 set equipment. After Xueqi had tailed Warwolf's team for close to 4 hours, he had completed the Hurricane set equipment, the Tier 1 set equipment for swordsmen. As expected of a godly tool, I've only gone through half of the treasure chests, and already, I've completed a set of Tier 1 set equipment. If I can upgrade the Icarus's heart to epic rank and open up the remaining Twilight treasure chests, I might complete the Tier 1 set equipment for all classes. Xueqi grew excited as he smiled at the brand new Hurricane set equipment inside his bag. As a Tier 1 set equipment for swordsmen, the Hurricane set was only inferior to an epic set equipment. It was far superior to the level 20 Dark Gold ranked Dragonclaw set equipment he currently wore. Moreover, unlike the Dragonclaw set, the Hurricane set specifically catered to swordsmen. Chapter 521. A Monster That Evolves. As the closest thing to an epic set equipment below level 50, a Tier 1 set equipment was naturally extraordinary. Initially, Xueqi had not been very confident of wiping out War Wolf and the others. However, now that he had completed the Tier 1 set equipment for swordsmen, his combat power would soar once he equipped it. His chances of defeating War Wolf's group of 8 top-tier experts would also significantly increase. Xueqi then replaced the Dragonclaw set equipment with the Hurricane set equipment. Unlike the Dragonclaw set, the Hurricane set was specifically designed for swordsmen. The silvery blue streamlined armor did not hinder its user's body at all. Xueqi now felt much lighter in the Hurricane set equipment. As expected of a set exclusively for swordsmen, not only does it have strong defense, but it also increases the player's dexterity. Ordinary equipment cannot compare. After testing his range of movement, Xueqi's lips curled into a smile. Hurricane set equipment. Level 20. Level 50. Equipment requirement. Tier 1 swordsman. Set consists of 5 parts: head, chest, hands, legs, and feet. Binds when equipped. Set effect. 2-piece effect. Damage increased by 10%, attack speed increased by 20%, and all swordsman skill effects increased by 20%. 4-piece effect. Strength increased by 15%, and agility increased by 15%. Obtain sword aura release skill. Deals 300% weapon damage to all enemies within a radius of 5 yards, knocking back all enemies by 12 yards and stunning them for 1 second. Cooldown. 1 minute. 5-piece effect. All swordsman skill cooldowns reduced by 20%. Receive 1 stack of hurricane energy every time you deal damage to the target. Each stack increases attack speed by 2% and attack range by 1 yard for 20 seconds. Maximum of 10 stacks. Obtain hurricane skill. Deals 200% plus, 30% asterisk number of hurricane energy stacks. Weapon damage in a cone to enemies within a range of 20 yards and lifts all targets struck into the air, preventing movement for 5 seconds. Cooldown. 10 minutes. With the set's basic attributes, Xueqi's strength finally broke past the 500-point threshold even without entering a berserk state. His agility also passed 600 points. Regarding movement speed and attack speed, Xueqi was confident he would not lose to any player unless said player wore an epic set equipment. Moreover, even if they wore an epic set equipment, it was not necessarily better than the Hurricane set equipment. Once equipment reached Dark Gold rank or above, it would undergo a unique transformation. This transformation was not reflected in the equipment's information. Rather, the set provided a hidden advantage. This advantage came in the form of the equipment's compatibility with a player's movements. It was similar to how a person would find it uncomfortable wearing shoes and clothing that did not fit. Every class and player had different movement habits. Ordinary equipment was standardized, not adapting to a player's movement habits, and was somewhat inconvenient for a player. Although the inconvenience might seem negligible to ordinary players, to experts, this inconvenience was like having a nail in their shoe. It would cause their movements to become awkward and significantly affect their performances. A Tier 1 set equipment's quality was higher than Dark Gold. Hence, in the system settings, the set equipment would adjust to fit the player's class movement habits. Currently, Xueqi felt as if the nail that had been inside his shoe was finally gone. He could now move unhindered. Following which, Xueqi resumed his wait in the shadows. Warwolf and the others were already close to the heart of the Dragonman's nest. The terrain was narrow with mountains looming on each side. The team could only advance or retreat. There was no third option. This place was the best location to set up an ambush. Boss Wolf, I've already scouted ahead. Aside from some elite dragonmen, there aren't any traps or mechanisms throughout the path towards the heart of the nest. However, the boss guarding the treasure is a level 30 lord. Moreover, it leans towards magical type, so it will be somewhat difficult to deal with, a Tier 1 assassin in black named Shadowless Rat reported. A magical type? Warwolf, who had a sickly complexion, frowned slightly. Magical type bosses usually possessed many AoE skills and had a variety of attack patterns. However, the most frightening aspect of such bosses was their ability to instant kill players. They were different from physical type bosses that could be contained using a variety of methods. The biggest difference between physical type attacks and magical type attacks was that physical type attacks were normally very straightforward. They did not have any compound attack patterns. Although physical attacks were a lot faster, it would not be a problem if one reacted quickly and defended against the attack. On the other hand, magical attacks were usually compounded. Because of this, these attacks could easily instant kill players. In the past virtual reality games, monsters' attack patterns were monotonous, unlike the monsters in God's domain whose attack patterns were very realistic. Moreover, with the increase in level, monsters' attack patterns would also evolve, transforming from the initial monotonous attack patterns to the current compound attack patterns. In other words, players had to guard more than one area, possibly up to 5 or 6. Most ordinary players already struggled to defend against single-fold attacks, much less two-fold attacks. The simplest example of a two-fold attack was an attack that came in tandem. In a panic, there was a high chance that both attacks would strike ordinary players. They would have to train rigorously to avoid such tandem attacks. Meanwhile, although the members of the various large guilds had killed plenty of monsters with compound attack patterns only began appearing after level 25. Hence, a majority of players would usually suffer the first time they encountered such monsters. Against a boss, even team wipes were common. Let's take a look at it first before coming up with a strategy, Warwolf said. Warwolf then led his team and advanced towards the Lord-ranked boss quickly, killing everything in their path. Magic Eye Dragonman, Lord rank. Level 30. HP 1 600 000/1 600 000. As an area boss, the Magic Eye Dragonman's HP changed according to the number of players in its area of influence. The minimum limit was 20 players, and if there were more than 20 players within range, its HP would increase accordingly. In other words, having more players wasn't necessarily an advantage. The moment Warwolf's team of 100 stepped into the Magic Eye Dragonman's area of influence, the Magic Eye Dragonman's HP instantly increased to 8 million. Shadowless Rat, the 19 of you will stay with me. Everyone else, leave the Magic Eye Dragonman's area of influence. Warwolf immediately commanded upon seeing the boss's HP increase. Facing such a boss, Having more people would only increase the team's burden. Their team had 8 experts who could easily deal with compound attacks, while the other 12 were veteran gamers who could deal with compound attacks relatively well. By forming a team of 20 players like this, they could deal with a Magic Eye Dragon Man as easily as dealing with an ordinary lord. Very quickly, the others left the Magic Eye Dragon Man's area of influence, hiding in a corner and watching quietly. Once the 80 players left the area, the Magic Eye Dragon Man's HP returned to 1,600,000. Okay, I'll go first. Everyone else, be careful of its aggro. Saying so, Warwolf dashed forward, charging at the Magic Eye Dragon Man who had a pitch-black tail and was covered in scales. When the Magic Eye Dragon Man caught sight of the shield warrior charging at it, it activated rapid charge and arrived before Warwolf, swinging its hammer fiercely down on the intruder. As it swung down its warhammer, a massive black eyeball appeared above the Magic Eye Dragon Man's head, silently firing multiple black rays at Warwolf. Boom! When the massive hammer the size of a small car landed, even the ground shook. However, after the dust settled, it appeared that the warhammer had not actually struck Warwolf. Instead, the weapon had landed right before the shield warrior, missing its target by a fraction. As for the black rays, they had also failed to damage Warwolf as they only brushed past his body. Immediately after, Warwolf swung his swords. Second acceleration. Although Warwolf's sword seemed slow, while the weapon was in mid-swing, it suddenly vanished. Unknown as to when it happened, Warwolf's sword had struck the Magic Eye Dragon Man, causing over -400 damage to the Lord. Following which, Warwolf and the others began to bombard the Lord with attacks. For a time, attacks flew back and forth, the extraordinarily intense battle shocking the overwhelming Smile members who watched from a distance. If they recorded this battle, they could enjoy it like watching a sci-fi movie. It's time. Xueqi, who had waited for a long time, revealed a faint smile. At this moment, Xueqi downed a bottle of Haunted and activated the Ring of Nothingness. Upon entering a state of nothingness, he charged forward. Chapter 522. One hit. While Warwolf's team of 20 cautiously faced off against the Magic Eye Dragon Man, the other overwhelming Smile members watched excitedly, hoping to learn Warwolf and his team's techniques. They yearned to become one of those 20 players on the team and were enchanted by the battle. They paid no attention whatsoever to their surroundings. It was not because they were foolish, but because overwhelming Smile's prestige in Maple City made them untouchable. No one would dare to provoke them. Furthermore, it was currently nighttime, and there were fewer players out in the field grinding and leveling up. Even if someone were plotting against them, they had so many players on their team. There were even top-tier experts in their midst. They had no reason to fear anyone. Boss Wolf is really amazing. Despite facing so many magical attacks, he has not once received any magical damage from the boss. I know, right? If I had just half of Boss Wolf's abilities, I could easily become the chief MT of other first-rate guilds. Half. In my opinion, 1/3 would be enough to become the chief MT of Star Moon Kingdom. Didn't you see how Boss Warwolf tanked the final boss of a 20-man Hell Mode team dungeon all by himself? Even when the previous 2 MTs had all of the healers on them, the final boss still took them out easily. Meanwhile, after Boss Warwolf arrived, he tanked the boss all by himself and only required 1 healer to keep him alive. My jaw nearly hit the ground. When the spectating crowd spoke about Warwolf, admiration for the shield warrior filled their hearts. Due to Warwolf's appearance, the 20-man Hell Mode team dungeons that had previously given overwhelming Smile a headache had become very easy to raid. If not for the 50-man large-scale team dungeons having too high of a requirement, overwhelming Smile would have long since obtained the first clear. Ha! Why does it suddenly feel hot? Hot? Now that you mention it, you're right. Isn't it nighttime right now? Several players began to glance around, searching for the source of the sudden heat. However, they had not noticed anything in particular. Wait, above us! A vigilant assassin shouted as he pointed towards the sky. Immediately, everyone shifted their gazes upward, only to find an endless stream of fire-type mana gathering above their heads, condensing into a fire that rained down on them. Meanwhile, a spinning wall of flames had appeared around them. The ground beneath their feet also began to boil. This phenomenon was none other than Xueqi's firestorm. After Xueqi had upgraded the 7 Luminaries ring, the level 7 Firestorm now had an effective radius of 30 yards, and the skill shrouded all 80 spectating players. Before Overwhelming Smile's elites could react, a damage of over -10,000 points appeared above each of their heads. Warwolf had the highest HP in Overwhelming Smile, yet, even he only had close to 7,000 HP. After a storm of flames swept through the crowd, silence permeated the area. All 80 members of Overwhelming Smile had been reduced to ash. Due to Haunted's effect, the drop rate of all of the players Xueqi had killed had multiplied. Moreover, due to Xueqi absorbing their immortal souls, not only had these players lost their levels and equipment, but they were also barred from logging into God's domain for a long period. Good. Only you guys are left. Hiding a short distance away, Xueqi revealed a satisfied smile. This was the fearsome aspect of large-scale destruction spells. In the past, there had been a saying in God's domain. One would rather incur the ire of a God-tier assassin rather than provoke a player with large-scale destruction spells. God-tier assassins were only powerful against individual players. However, a player who knew large-scale destruction spells could annihilate an entire army by themselves. If a God-tier assassin was likened to a sniper rifle, then a player with large-scale destruction spells was like a strategic missile. They were a guild's worst nightmare. In the past, the Midnight Tea Party had stood on equal footing with superguilds because they had a mage god and curse god on their team. These two players had possessed an arsenal of large-scale destruction spells. To them, an army of thousands was no different than floating clouds. A single Tier 6 large-scale destruction spell could easily wipe out the entire army. After killing the 80 Overwhelming Smile members, Xueqi did not bother picking up the loot scattered across the ground. Instead, he charged towards Warwolf, who currently raged against the Magic Eye Dragon Man. Firestorm's Commotion would not have escaped the notice of Warwolf's team. While both sides were engaged in an intense battle, Xueqi could not waste this opportunity by picking up loot. Boss Wolf, the members on standby have been wiped out. What are we supposed to do now? Shadowless Rat asked, a lingering fear in his eyes as he watched the raging inferno that faded gradually. At this moment, the names of their team members on standby had turned gray. Retreat for now. Otherwise, our chances of victory will be too low if we have to fight the boss while dealing with this new enemy. Warwolf immediately shouted in the team chat. I'll cover for you guys. Everyone, retreat. One had to admit that Warwolf's team was very skilled. Despite realizing that a new enemy had arrived, they still retreated in an orderly manner. Warwolf also retreated slowly as he held off the boss. Only one person? While Shadowless Rat pulled away from the boss battle, he suddenly noticed a black figure dashing towards them. He sighed with relief at the sight. Licking the corner of his lips, he sneered and said, Boss Wolf, leave this bastard to me. He actually thinks he can provoke us and plunder our treasures? I'll teach him a lesson. Saying so, Shadowless Rat activated wind steps and dashed to meet the cloaked figure. Initially, Warwolf had intended to stop the assassin. However, after giving it some thought, he changed his mind. Seeing the enemy's movement speed, Warwolf had already managed to judge the enemy's strength. Although the enemy was an expert and possessed good attributes, he was still far from being a match for Shadowless Rat. Warwolf was very familiar with Shadowless Rat's strength. Among the 8 top-tier experts, the assassin ranked 3rd in one-on-one combat. He was more than enough to deal with an ordinary expert. Moreover, they had already destroyed 50% of the boss's HP. It would be a huge waste if they had to start all over again. Before, he had worried that the enemy was very powerful due to the fact that the latter possessed a large-scale destruction spell. Ordinary players could never possess such skills. At the very least, the enemy should be an extremely powerful expert or someone with the backing of a large guild. If it were someone targeting Overwhelming Smile as a whole, they would have no choice but to retreat. After all, with Overwhelming Smile's high prestige in Maple City, the enemy would have sent a team of several hundred players to deal with their 100-man team. However, since there was only one attacker, it should only be an expert trying to plunder their items. Shadowless Rat was more than enough to deal with such an expert. If Shadowless Rat was not enough, they could just send someone to help the assassin. With their combat techniques, it was very dangerous for them to fight against the boss while fending off several hundred players. However, since the enemy was alone, one person should be enough to deal with the problem. The rest could focus on the boss. When Shadowless Rat was only 30 yards away from Xueqi, he activated stealth. He intended to finish off Xueqi with a chain of attacks. However, who was Xueqi? Under the gaze of omniscient eyes, no enemies could hide from Xueqi. Up till now, Xueqi had intentionally lowered his speed. He had not used his maximum. Suddenly, Xueqi's speed increased. Xiao! Only an afterimage remained in Xueqi's original location. So fast! Shadowless Rat immediately panicked. He knew that he had encountered a tough opponent this time. However, it was too late to retreat. The distance between him and Xueqi was less than 20 yards. Activating Wind Blade, Xueqi's speed soared, and in the blink of an eye, he had arrived before Shadowless Rat. He immediately swung his sword down towards the assassin. Shadowless Rat was greatly surprised. However, his instincts as an expert allowed him to react to the attack. After grasping the trajectory of Xueqi's sword, he quickly moved his daggers to receive the attack. In the next moment, however, a black streak of light cut across Shadowless Rat. The assassin was then forced out of stealth, a shocked expression on his face as he looked at the black hooded figure before him. How could any attack possibly be so fast? Shadowless Rat looked at his bloodied chest, his heart palpitating as his HP quickly bottomed out. He then crumbled to the ground, motionless. Chapter 523. Cooperation. Shadowless Rat's instant death stunned Warwolf and the others, who watched the entire encounter. As his teammates, they were very familiar with Shadowless Rat's strength and skill. Moreover, Shadowless Rat was a Tier 1 assassin who had grasped Omnivision. He could easily perceive his enemy's attack trajectory and respond appropriately. In addition, the majority of his equipment consisted of level 25 fine gold equipment, his total HP being over 4,400. Even Warwolf would have to expend a significant amount of effort to defeat Shadowless Rat. If the assassin focused on escaping, Warwolf would be helpless against him. Yet, now he had actually been killed with a single hit. Meanwhile, they didn't even know what had happened exactly. They only saw the pitch-black sword in the enemy swordsman's hand transform into a streak of light, and in the next moment, Shadowless Rat was dead. How could they not be shocked? After killing Shadowless Rat, Xueqi did not stop. Turning, he dashed for Warwolf and the others. This time, however, he did not hold back as he sprinted at full speed. In the dead of night, his cloaked figure looked like a ghost. He was extremely difficult to locate. He hid his strength. All those who aren't Tier 1 classes, fall back. I'll hold off the boss. The rest of you, delay him. Maintain your distance. His sword is extremely fast, so do not approach him no matter what. Warwolf shouted his orders in the team chat. Although Warwolf's instructions had been appropriate, he still felt as if something were off about this situation. Why had such an expert ambushed them? Moreover, based on the enemy's behavior, it was clear that he had aimed for them from the very beginning. This situation greatly confused Warwolf. Among the various teams in Overwhelming Smile, their team had always strived to maintain a low profile. They have never provoked anybody. They were an elite team that Overwhelming Smile had formed in secrecy to serve as the guild's trump card, and even the normal members of the guild did not know they existed. However, the enemy had clearly chosen the best possible moment to launch his attack. The ambusher's strength was the most usual aspect. He was definitely one of the rarely seen top-tier experts. Although the enemy had only attacked once, Warwolf could tell how powerful he was. Comparing basic attributes alone, this enemy was far superior to Shadowless Rat. Even if both sides fought without any combat techniques, Shadowless Rat would not have an easy time blocking that person's sword. Not to mention, there was also the attack that contained no excess movement. Being caught unaware, it was only natural that Shadowless Rat had been defeated. In fact, there was not the slightest bit of error with Warwolf's judgment. In front of absolute power, all tricks were futile. Xueqi currently wore the Tier 1 Hurricane set equipment. He also possessed the epic ranked 7 Luminaries ring and the fragmented legendary ranked Heavenly Dragon's Breath. With one hand, he wielded the top-tier Dark Gold ranked Purgatory's Shadow, and with the other, he wielded the magic weapon, Abyssal Blade. He was a Tier 1 Blade Saint, and his one-handed sword mastery had reached the level of a sword master. In terms of basic attributes, he was leaps and bounds above Shadowless Rat. Even though Shadowless Rat had already reached the threshold of the refinement realm, in the face of absolute power, all combat techniques were useless. Not to mention, as an assurance, Xueqi had even used flowing water acceleration in his attack. How could Shadowless Rat possibly block an attack with that kind of speed? However, Shadowless Rat's bad luck was partially to blame for Xueqi's ability to kill him with one hit. Even with Xueqi's powerful basic attributes, it was still impossible for him to eliminate over 4,400 HP, killing the assassin with a single hit. At the very least, he needed 2 hits to finish off the assassin. However, the attack that struck Shadowless Rat had triggered a triple critical hit. Even death would find it difficult to avoid the assassin at that point. In the span of a few breaths, the remaining 6 experts in Warwolf's team had already managed to block Xueqi's advance. Among these 6 players, 3 were melee classes, with 1 being a swordsman and 2 being berserkers. The remaining 3 consisted of a cleric, an elementalist, and a ranger. All 6 players were Tier 1 classes. A party of ordinary Tier 1 players would be more than enough to deal with a 20-man elite team. Not to mention that these 6 Tier 1 players were true experts. Their coordination was certainly something to behold. I refuse to believe that the 6 of us cannot defeat one of you. A level 27 male berserker in silver armor said irritably as he watched Xueqi dash towards his team. It's better to be careful. This person's attack power is very high. Even plate armor classes like you will not survive more than a few hits. Focus on pinning him down. Leave the attacking to us ranged classes. The tall and slender level 26 female elementalist suggested. We know, relax. Another level 26 male berserker in black armor laughed. They were very confident that they could deal with Xueqi. Normally, they often held practice PvP matches against each other. As long as they, the 3 melee classes, worked together, even their boss Warwolf would suffer defeat. They also had 3 ranged classes on their side. They refused to believe that the black-cloaked swordsman before them could turn the tide of the battle by himself. The Tier 1 ranger then fired a series of frost arrows, sealing off Xueqi's movements. Meanwhile, the Tier 1 elementalist used a combination of ice spear and ice wall. Both the ranger and the elementalist had grasped omnivision, so they could see through Xueqi's actions and send their attacks ahead of time. Under the combination attack, Xueqi was forced to stop his advance temporarily and evade the incoming attacks. Take this! Seizing the opportunity, the silver armor berserker tightened his grip on his great sword and used flame charge on Xueqi. Flame charge could force the target into a fainted state for a slightly more than 1 second. As long as they incapacitated Xueqi for 1 second, under everyone's focused fire, even his 10,000 plus HP would not last. The black-armored berserker had also used charge on Xueqi, though he purposely timed his skill's activation so that he would reach Xueqi a moment after the silver-armored berserker. Even if Xueqi activated a skill to defend against the silver-armored berserker's charge, he could only defend against the first charge and not the second one. Most importantly, both berserkers attacked Xueqi's sides, making it even more difficult for Xueqi to force his way through the attacks. There were also the 3 ranged classes blocking off Xueqi's paths of retreats. If Xueqi tried to evade, the attacks would strike him. Die! The black-armored berserker readied his battle axe as the silver-armored berserker attacked Xueqi, waiting for the moment when Xueqi used a skill to defend against the silver-armored berserker's charge. When that time arrived, it would then be his turn to finish Xueqi off. Xueqi's only choice was to evade the charge and in turn, sacrifice some of his HP by enduring the ranged class's attacks. That way, he would at least keep his life. In the long run, however, he would only find death here. It was only a matter of time. Why isn't he dodging? The Tier 1 female elementalist muttered, confused, as she watched from afar. Even when the silver-armored berserker arrived before Xueqi, the latter had not moved in the slightest. In the next moment, the silver-armored berserker swung down his great sword with all his might. Dang! Dazzling sparks scattered to the surroundings as Xueqi blocked the silver-armored berserker's full-powered slash with one of his swords. You're dead! On the other side, the black-armored berserker sneered. Xueqi had actually decided not to evade the attack. He had not even used a skill to defend himself. He was simply insane. After being incapacitated by 2 charges, not even a miracle could save him from death. when the black-armored berserker arrived before Xueqi and swung his axe. Everyone heard the sound of clashing metal once again. How? The black-armored berserker was shocked as he stared at Xueqi blocking his axe with the Purgatory Shadow. Does he possess a skill that makes him immune to control effects for a short time? The two robust berserkers standing beside Xueqi had failed to inflict any damage. Even an immunity skill won't save you. Shouting angrily, the silver-armored berserker's body increased slightly in size. It was obvious that he had used a berserk skill, allowing his strength to grow. He then used cross slash. The other black-armored berserker used whirlwind slash. "It should be my turn now, right?" Xueqi asked softly. Chapter 524. Ganging Up. Before the fight with Warwolf's team had even begun, Xueqi had activated the aura of space on the 7 luminaries ring, becoming immune to all control effects. Whether it was the Tier 1 Elementalist's Ice Wall or the Tier 1 Ranger's Frost Arrows, Xueqi had intentionally dodged both the Tier 1 Elementalist's Ice Wall and the Tier 1 Ranger's Frost Arrows with the goal of tricking the two Tier 1 Berserkers into approaching him on their own accord, saving him the time of going after them himself. Releasing a low shout, Xueqi used the skill unique to the Hurricane set equipment, Sword Aura Release, dealing 300% weapon damage to all enemies within a radius of 5 yards and knocking all enemies back by 12 yards, stunning them for 1 second. Crap! The silver and black-armored berserkers immediately realized something was amiss and hurriedly activated block to defend themselves, swinging the greatsword and battle axe. Boom! Both berserkers felt as if they had just been hit by a truck, their bodies flying backward and slamming heavily into the ground. Before either of them could react, Xueqi advanced. He could easily cross a distance of 12 yards with a single step. In the blink of an eye, Xueqi appeared before the silver-armored berserker and sent a chop down on the man. Currently, both berserkers were in a fainted state. They could not defend against Xueqi's attacks at all. However, the instant Xueqi's sword descended, he immediately changed his weapon's trajectory, directing the chop behind him. Pang! 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 Before anyone noticed, a Tier 1 swordsman had appeared behind Xueqi and similarly used chop. Hence, Xueqi had abruptly changed his target. When the swords of light collided, the impact sent the Tier 1 swordsman flying, 3 damages of over -400 points appearing above his head. How can someone possess such horrific strength? Is he a human-shaped lord? The Tier 1 swordsman stared at Xueqi in disbelief. He had flown over 6 yards and had only managed to stabilize himself after much difficulty. Even so, the hand he used to grip the sword that collided with Xueqi's blade was completely numb. During this brief exchange between Xueqi and the Tier 1 swordsman, the silver-armored berserker recovered from his fainted state. Shock filled his heart when he saw a single hit send his swordsman companion flying. Immediately, he used whirlwind slash in an attempt to scare Xueqi away. When the silver-armored berserker used whirlwind slash, the elementalist and ranger at a distance promptly begun to launch cover fire. What a joke! Xueqi was capable of sending a level 26 Tier 1 swordsman flying with just 1 hit. If such an attack struck them directly, they would die instantly. Facing the barrage of attacks, Xueqi had no choice but to evade, opting to chase after the black-armored berserker. After all, not only were these attacks overwhelming, but they were also experts' attacks. If he really tried to take the silver-armored berserker's life, it was highly possible he would have to sacrifice his own. Seeing Xueqi retreat, the level 27 silver-armored berserker unconsciously released a sigh of relief. That was close. I nearly lost my life there. If he had not instinctively used block, allowing him to negate 1 instance of damage coming from his front, he would have lost his life during Xueqi's first attack. Not to mention that alarmingly dangerous second attack. Despite being in a fainted state, he could clearly feel the killing intent, which was intimidating enough to cause one to freeze during battle, contained within Xueqi's attack. Even if he were not in a fainted state, he was not confident he could block that lightning-quick attack. Although he possessed high HP and defense as a berserker, his HP was just slightly more than 5,300. With Xueqi's frightening attack power, even a plate armor class would die from a single hit. Only a brief second had passed since they had begun fighting Xueqi. However, this was the first time in his life the silver-armored berserker had experienced such a long second. His life very nearly flashed before his eyes. When the black-armored berserker saw Xueqi come for him, without hesitation, he turned and fled. He had also experienced Xueqi's power. Not only were Xueqi's basic attributes leaps and bounds above theirs, but his combat techniques were also far beyond them. Facing such a person head-on was nothing short of suicide. While the black-armored berserker fled, the distant female elementalist cast ice wall and ice spheres to hinder Xueqi's movements. Although the spells could not reduce Xueqi's movement speed, they still dealt damage. Hence, Xueqi had no choice but to dodge the attacks. Besides that, the ranger consistently fired accurate attacks at Xueqi's movement trajectory, hindering the Blade Saint's chase of the black-armored berserker. The Tier 1 swordsman also trailed behind him, waiting for an opportune moment to strike. This is really annoying. Although Xueqi had expected such a situation, he could not help his slight irritation. Top-tier experts were top-tier experts for a reason. They were not as easy to deal with as other players. Although he was very fast, he was not fast enough that his enemies could not react. With the 6 of them cooperating perfectly, attacking and retreating simultaneously, Xueqi simply could not find any gaps to attack. As for using long-distance attacks such as Thundering Flash, Earth Splitter, and so on, these skills' casting times were too long. With these people's skills, they could easily dodge Xueqi's long-range attacks. Moreover, using such skills would also slow his movement, allowing these people to widen the gap between them, placing him at a disadvantage. However, these people's ranged attacks were also useless as Xueqi dodged them easily. As for confronting him in melee combat, they did not have the courage. They would be gambling with their lives if they tried to take on Xueqi's attacks. For a time, both sides were locked in a stalemate. At this moment, Warwolf had shaken off the boss and dashed towards Xueqi with astonishing speed. Ha ha ha! Brat, you're finished! The silver-armored berserker could not help but laugh when he saw Warwolf running over to help them. Warwolf was a shield warrior. Not only did he possess a frightening defense, but he also had a shield. Adding in Warwolf's techniques, if he coordinated with them in melee combat, they could easily finish off Xueqi. Most importantly, while they had a healer, Xueqi did not. This battle's result was clear for all to see. Encircle him. Do not let him escape, Warwolf hurriedly shouted in the team chat. Boss, you can count on us. Overwhelming smiles. 12 other elites suddenly emerged from their hiding spots, each of them holding a crimson bead. Once they circled Xueqi, they immediately began chanting an incantation. Suddenly, a massive flame barrier rose from the ground, creating a dome that trapped Xueqi and the others inside. Brat, you're really not simple. We even have to use the sealing beads that we obtained from Hell Mode team dungeons after going through much difficulty to deal with you. Don't even dream of escaping now. The silver-armored berserker laughed. No one was allowed to leave the sealing barrier. Unless Xueqi possessed a skill with tremendous destructive power, he would have to wait until the barrier exhausted its power. Meanwhile, the barrier had a duration of 15 minutes. It was more than enough to deal with Xueqi. Isn't he just one extra person? Do you guys really think you can handle me? Xueqi retorted with a laugh. You underestimate the effect one extra person can have. Even before this, you couldn't do anything to us. With Boss Wolf's help, we will break the balance and kill you. Don't blame us for ganging up on you. You're the one who ambushed us. Next time, make sure you think twice about who you attack, the silver-armored berserker sneered confidently. If 6 of you are just barely a match for me, I wonder how the 7 will cope with 2. Xueqi could not help but ask. Although Xueqi's voice was soft, everyone's chests tightened. Even with Warwolf's powerful aid, they felt that they would only have a 60% chance of taking down Xueqi. If another expert popped up then. 2. Do you think I'm a fool? Once this barrier is up, nobody is allowed to enter or leave. The silver-armored berserker refused to believe Xueqi's claim. However, the moment he finished speaking, another person suddenly appeared by Xueqi's side. Moreover, this person was a twin of their enemy. The killing intent this person radiated could similarly make one's heart skip a beat. Chapter 525. Instant Kill. Every member of Warwolf's elite team was stunned when they saw 2 Xueqis in front of them. What's going on here? One Xueqi had already given them plenty of trouble, and they even required Warwolf's help if they wanted any hope of defeating him. Now that there were two, what were they supposed to do? A doppelganger, huh? Warwolf remained calm despite the sudden appearance of another Xueqi, and he immediately thought of a possibility. In God's domain, aside from the skills of the various classes, there was also a large variety of general skills. A skill capable of producing a doppelganger was not entirely impossible. It was just like how summoners could summon powerful monsters. When the others on the team heard Warwolf's statement, they realized that this was actually quite possible. Otherwise, how would they explain the situation before them? Everyone instantly released a sigh of relief. Although a doppelganger possessed some lethality, at the end of the day, a doppelganger was still a doppelganger. However, they quickly realized that they were sorely mistaken. They were outrageously wrong. The instant Xueqi's doppelganger showed itself, it dashed towards the Tier 1 swordsman. Although the speed of the doppelganger's sword was not as frightening as the real Xueqi's, every one of the doppelganger's attacks forced the Tier 1 swordsman to take 3 to 5 steps back before he could stabilize himself. The Tier 1 swordsman was even forced to activate Defensive Blade to hold off the doppelganger's assault. "I'll help you." The black-armored berserker rushed towards Xueqi's doppelganger, brandishing his battle axe. However, even with the aid of a top-tier berserker, the Tier 1 swordsman's HP rapidly decreased. The team's Tier 1 cleric had no choice but to heal the Tier 1 swordsman constantly to stabilize the latter's HP. The doppelganger's combat power flustered every one of its enemies. "Leave the doppelganger to me. Since it is a skill, there is definitely a duration. Once the duration ends, we will deal with the person himself," Warwolf snarled. He then used charge and arrived before the doppelganger. Xueqi had to admit that Warwolf was indeed an expert who had already set foot into the refinement realm. Both his attacks and evasion were extremely accurate and meticulous. He always achieved the greatest of effects using the smallest of actions. In addition, that massive shield of his allowed him to guard the majority of his body from the doppelganger's attacks easily. Despite being forced into a constant retreat by the doppelganger's every move, his body remained as steady as a mountain. Amazing. If Kola was as skilled as Warwolf right now, we could definitely try to raid a 50-man Hell Mode team dungeon. Xueqi pitted his situation while he watched Warwolf. With Warwolf pinning down the doppelganger, the remaining 6 experts kept Xueqi in check while they bided their time. However, before anyone could catch a breather, 12 swords suddenly appeared hovering around Xueqi. Just looking at the gleaming edges of the blades made one's scalp tingle. "Since you guys see nothing wrong with ganging up on others, there's nothing wrong with me using my doppelganger and these 12 swords to deal with the 7 of you, right? Don't call me a bully, alright?" Xueqi smiled faintly. He then controlled the 12 abyssal blade phantoms to attack the 6 experts. Suddenly, the silver-armored berserker and the other experts paled, their words sticking in their throats. Although the 12 abyssal blade phantoms did not contain much power, their damage was still significant. They could cause up to 45% of Xueqi's damage. In addition, the phantoms were small, fast, and nimble, making it extremely difficult to avoid their strikes. While the melee classes could cope, but barely with the phantoms, the same did not hold true for the ranged classes. It was especially true for the cleric. Preserving his own life had become an arduous task, much less doing so and healing his team. After fighting for only a short moment, Warwolf and the other top-tier experts were miserable. The overwhelming Smile members watching from outside the barrier were utterly dumbfounded. Even if everyone present was a fool, they could tell just how powerful Xueqi was. By now, it was obvious that Xueqi had merely been toying with the 6 experts during their previous exchange. At this moment, Xueqi stood on the sidelines and watched the battle. By relying on the doppelganger and 12 swords, he had already beaten overwhelming Smile's prided peak combat force into submission. If he joined the battle, couldn't he wipe them out any time he wanted? "Just who are you?" Warwolf demanded, his confusion evident on his face. Such a powerful expert would not just coincidentally ambush them. He must have a purpose for doing so. However, instead of replying to Warwolf's question, Xueqi silently pointed the abyssal blade towards the sky. Suddenly, countless swords of light appeared above the silver-armored berserker and the others, completely enveloping the 7 people. Then, like raindrops, the swords of light descended. This skill was none other than the Tier 1 skill Xueqi had learned when he became a Blade Saint. Skywheel Sword. Skywheel Sword inflicts 1000 base damage plus 200% weapon damage to all enemies within a radius of 20 yards. Also seals all enemies within range, preventing them from leaving the area for 4 seconds. Previously, 9 Dragon Slash had forced everyone to use up almost all of their life-saving skills. Among the experts, the Elementalist and Cleric had both exhausted theirs. Faced with the rain of swords, the 2 ranged players could only quietly go to their deaths. Meanwhile, the remaining 2 Tier 1 Berserkers, the Tier 1 Swordsman, and the Tier 1 Ranger had less than a third of their HPs remaining after the Skywheel Sword's descent. They were also trapped in a 20-yard radius area. Using silent steps, Xueqi appeared behind the Tier 1 Ranger. Although Rangers possessed melee combat capabilities, Xueqi had caught him completely off guard. A sword of light flashed across the Ranger's body, and without offering the slightest resistance, the Ranger, too, fell lifelessly to the ground, his equipment scattering around his body. Damn it! Warwolf's eyes turned bloodshot with rage. Although he wanted to save his companions, he already had his hands full dealing with the doppelganger before him. At this moment, he was overwhelmed with regret. Just why had he used a barrier to trap his own men with this kind of monster? Moreover, the barrier lasted 15 long minutes. Everyone outside, hurry up and escape. Warwolf was helpless as he shouted this command. Boss Wolf. The overwhelming Smile team members outside the barrier nodded and scattered. As they ran, they began to contact the other members of Overwhelming Smile, asking for reinforcements. However, they knew that no one could save Warwolf and the others. There was not enough time. Inside the barrier, though the silver-armored Berserker and the other 2 experts tried to attack Xueqi as a group, the gap between their strength and speed and their enemies was simply too massive. Without needing any skills, Xueqi easily finished off the 3 of players after brandishing his swords a dozen times or so. As for Warwolf, Xueqi was done playing around. He immediately instructed his doppelganger to activate Blade Liberation. Blade Liberation was a skill that he had learned himself, not a skill that he acquired with his equipment. Since the doppelganger could utilize all of the skills he had learned, it was naturally capable of using the Tier 1 Berserker skill, Blade Liberation, as well. Instantly, both the doppelganger's strength and agility increased by 80%. At this moment, the doppelganger's strength and agility had even surpassed Xueqi himself. In the next moment, countless swords of light clashed with Warwolf's massive red shield, producing a continuous stream of rings. The barrage of powerful attacks sent Warwolf flying. As he tried to stabilize his body in midair, he suddenly discovered Xueqi's doppelganger before him. Hurriedly, Warwolf raised his shield in an attempt to protect his body. Shockingly, however, the doppelganger's sword passed through his shield and struck his body, dealing over -1000 damage. This move was none other than the skill specifically meant for targeting MTs, Illusory Shadow. Once this skill was used, the doppelganger's attacks could only be dodged, and not blocked. At this moment, Warwolf's towering shield was practically non-existent. Moreover, he could not control his body while he flew through the air, making it impossible to dodge the doppelganger's attacks. Attack after attack assaulted Warwolf. The doppelganger attacked the shield warrior 6 times in a row, and of them, 3 had triggered a critical hit, dealing close to -3000 damage. In the blink of an eye, Warwolf's body fell to the ground, his nearly 7000 HP reaching 0. Meanwhile, Xueqi had activated space movement and instantly appeared before the 12 escaping Overwhelming Smile members. He then finished off each player with a single hit, letting none escape the Dragonman's nest. Chapter 526. Deterring Force. After annihilating everyone at the Dragonman's nest, Xueqi began to collect the items his victims had dropped. Due to Haunted's effect, Warwolf and the others' drop rates had multiplied. Moreover, due to Xueqi's luck attribute, some of Overwhelming Smile's elites had even dropped up to 3 pieces of equipment. Xueqi had obtained more than 200 pieces of equipment, with the most inferior being level 20 secret silver equipment, just by killing this team of 100 players. In total, Xueqi had earned more than 1000 gold in equipment. No wonder so many players joined the forces of darkness. An indescribable joy filled Shifeng's heart when he looked at the assortment of advanced equipment in his bag. If Zero Wing had only itself to rely on to obtain all this equipment, a lot of time would be required. Meanwhile, Shifeng had only needed 5 minutes. However, equipment was not his greatest concern this time. The key point had been killing Werewolf and the others. After absorbing their immortal souls, Werewolf and the others could forget about logging into the game for at least 2 or 3 days. In addition to their lost equipment, they would have to waste at least 4 or 5 days to recover from this serious setback. With this one fight, Shifeng had stomped Overwhelming Smile's trump card to the ground, severely slowing the guild's development progress. If I put my back into it, I should be able to collect the 300 points of life force required before logging off. Shifeng took a look at the Icarus's heart's attributes, licking his lips. He then departed from the Dragonman's nest in search of other Overwhelming Smile members. Previously, when he had attacked Werewolf and the others, the latter had contacted the other nearby Overwhelming Smile members, hoping to attract a crowd. After all, Overwhelming Smile was the overlord of Maple City. Now that someone had dared to provoke the guild, they wanted to openly display what the consequences were for such actions. As this concerned the guild's reputation, Overwhelming Smile would take action to serve as a deterrence for others. Hence, this was the perfect time for Shifeng to hunt Overwhelming Smile members. Time gradually passed. Just as Shifeng had predicted, while he had killed Werewolf's team, the Overwhelming Smile members in Dragon Ridge began to rush towards his location. There was actually someone who dared kill their allies while in their territory. Before this, nobody had dared to kill any members of Overwhelming Smile. Now that someone had emerged, naturally, they needed to retaliate. Filled with rage, the members of Overwhelming Smile rushed over to the Dragonman's nest where Werewolf's team had fought, hoping to teach Shifeng a lesson. Unfortunately, only an endless abyss awaited them. The majority of the reinforcements that arrived consisted of 20-man teams, and very rarely would a 100-man team appear. Although all of these teams consisted of elite players, compared to Werewolf's team, they were significantly inferior. Whenever Shifeng discovered one of these teams, he would immediately use Firestorm. As for those that were fortunate enough to be outside the skill's effective radius, Shifeng would rush over and finish them off quickly. Each battle usually lasted around 5 or 6 seconds. These Overwhelming Smile members did not even have the time to contact the other teams. They could only watch as Shifeng devoured them, one after another, becoming life force for the Icarus's heart. After slightly over half an hour, Shifeng had collected a total of 300 points of life force, evolving the Icarus's heart to secret silver rank. The luck attribute the necklace provided increased from the original 7 points to 9 points. Although it was a minor increase, it had significantly increased items drop rates. Meanwhile, if Shifeng wanted to upgrade the Icarus's heart to fine gold rank, he needed double the previous requirement, 600 points of life force. Originally, Shifeng had wanted to log out of the game to rest. However, thinking that this was a rare opportunity, he continued to massacre the endless stream of Overwhelming Smile members that stormed over to help their companions. Currently, Overwhelming Smile's members still had no idea of what was occurring at the Dragonman's nest. They also did not know that many of their companions had already died. After all, players who had lost their immortal souls could not log into the game even if they wanted to, so it was not possible for them to notify their allies. Even if there were a way to make contact, that would only happen after the upper managers of Overwhelming Smile discovered that the dead could not log back into the game. Who knew how long that would take? If Shifeng waited until everyone from Overwhelming Smile reacted to the situation, searching for Overwhelming Smile members would become far more difficult. Since news of his slaughter would get out sooner or later, Shifeng intended to go all out and kill as many as he could. Ignorantly, the members of Overwhelming Smile who wanted to teach Shifeng a lesson continued to run to their deaths. Every team that came to the Dragonman's nest died. The 100-man teams were no exception. Meanwhile, inside Overwhelming Smile's guild residence in Maple City. Miss Yulan, what's going on with you? Why are you in such a hurry to see me? A handsome middle-aged man seated on the guild leader's throne asked, laughing. This middle-aged man was none other than Overwhelming Smile's true guild leader, Laughing Heaven. Laughing Heaven had tan skin and a pair of deep black eyes. His entire person radiated a sense of majesty, and gave others the impression that he was one who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Although Overwhelming Smile was only a second-rate guild, it had only been established a short time ago. Meanwhile, Laughing Heaven was the person responsible for nurturing Overwhelming Smile from the ground up. During the initial stages of God's domain, he had accurately chosen to develop Overwhelming Smile in Maple City, leading the guild to become the city's overlord. Soon after, Underworld came with the offer of acquisition. Not only had Underworld supplied the guild with significant funds, but it also supplied many experts, allowing Overwhelming Smile to become a guild capable of rivaling first-rate guilds. However, what shocked Laughing Heaven the most were the experts Underworld had sent. Because of those few experts, Overwhelming Smile had managed to raid team dungeons smoothly and unimpeded, shocking Maple City. Overwhelming Smile had become a well-known guild in Starmoon Kingdom, and even showed signs of becoming the kingdom's #1 guild. Guild leader Laughing Heaven. Now is not the time for jokes. Recall all of our members from Dragon Ridge immediately. If they can't return, instruct them to keep their guild emblems hidden, Yulan said with a stern expression, her tone sounding like an absolute command rather than a request. Miss Yulan, did something big happen in Dragon Ridge? Laughing Heaven was no fool. Hearing the sudden change in Yulan's tone, he could tell that the situation was not as simple as it seemed. However, he could not casually withdraw all those players who were out grinding without a good reason. Such an action would negatively impact the guild's development. Are you really clueless about what is happening in Dragon Ridge? Yulan asked quietly. Are you talking about the person who is attacking our teams? When Laughing Heaven realized the reason for Yulan's distress, he could not help but laugh and said, Miss Yulan, aren't you making a big fuss over nothing? Isn't it just someone ambushing us? Is there really a need to withdraw our members from Dragon Ridge? Many guild members have already gone to deal with that arrogant bastard. I doubt it will be long before that player is found and killed. Making a big fuss over nothing? Found and killed? Yulan could not help but laugh upon hearing Laughing Heaven's words, a hint of mockery flashing in her eyes. To actually speak such ridiculous words, do you even know what exactly is happening in Dragon Ridge right now? Miss Yulan, there is one thing that you have to understand. While you might be Overwhelming Smile's guild leader in White River City, in Maple City, I, Laughing Heaven, am the true guild leader. Laughing Heaven was not impressed by Yulan's behavior. If not for the woman having the support of Underworld, he couldn't care less what the woman said. Since you don't know, I'll tell you. Zero Wings guild leader, Black Flame, is currently in Dragon Ridge. The majority of the subordinates you've sent there to level up are most likely dead already. If you don't recall them right this instant, it won't be long before he wipes out every member we have there. Yulan said sternly. That is all I have to say. Guild leader Laughing Heaven. Whether you wish to act upon my advice or not is up to you. Finished, Yulan turned and left the guild leader's office. Her task in Maple City was only to develop Overwhelming Smile's trade. She was not allowed to intervene on any other matters relating to the guild. Not could she. Otherwise, she would not have run all the way here to meet with Laughing Heaven. Meanwhile, Laughing Heaven was stunned into silence when he heard the name Black Flame. Chapter 527. Commotion at Maple City. Inside Overwhelming Smile's guild leader's office. Some time after Yulan's departure, Laughing Heaven still struggled with accepting the situation. He could not understand why Black Flame, the guild leader of Zero Wing, would go all the way to Dragon Ridge to ambush Overwhelming Smile's members. Who was Black Flame? He was Starmoon Kingdom's publicly acknowledged #1 expert. He was someone capable of coming and going as he wished even when surrounded by tens of thousands of enemies. Laughing Heaven had even heard tell that 2 of Underworld's prided 7 ghosts had died at the hands of Black Flame, leaving Underworld helpless against Zero Wing. In the end, even Underworld could do nothing but forbear from dealing with Zero Wing. This alone spoke of Black Flame's power. Shit! Laughing Heaven suddenly recalled a situation. There was a rumor going around saying that Black Flame was capable of preventing the players he killed from logging into God's domain for a long period. However, Laughing Heaven knew that this rumor was true, as after Black Flame killed Underworld's 5th ghost and 6th ghost, the 2 were unable to log into the game for 2 full days. Laughing Heaven also knew that, back in the Watch Cemetery in the White River City region, Black Flame had single-handedly forced Underworld to withdraw from that land of treasures. If what Yulan said was true, then the overwhelming Smile members in Dragon Ridge vying for revenge were no different than sheep to the slaughter. Moreover, it was currently night in God's domain. Every guild member capable of leveling up at night was an elite player. If these people were annihilated and barred from entering the game for 2 days. Laughing Heaven immediately tried to contact War Wolf, hoping his team of experts could pin down Black Flame. With their strength, they should be able to deal with this matter without much difficulty. Afterward, he only needed to withdraw his guild members from Dragon Ridge. Did he log off? When Laughing Heaven opened his friends list, he suddenly discovered that War Wolf and the other experts were offline. That shouldn't be right. I heard that War Wolf was planning to raid a Dragonman's nest today. Why would they log off so soon? It can't be. Laughing Heaven abruptly thought of an extremely unlikely possibility. How could this be? Did Black Flame kill all 8 of those top-tier experts? However, when he recalled Yolan's sudden appearance in his office, it was highly possible that War Wolf had contacted Yolan after he died. This won't do. I need to call back everyone immediately. When Laughing Heaven thought about the massacre of Overwhelming Smile's members, rage and frustration filled his heart. However, who else could possibly win against this one-man army? Shortly after, Laughing Heaven sent a command to all Overwhelming Smile members in Dragon Ridge, ordering them to either head to other locations to level up or return to the city to rest. In any case, the monsters at night were not easy to deal with. They could also accumulate double EXP buff if they rested in the guild residence. What's going on? Why are we being told to leave Dragon Ridge? I'm only a short distance from the treasure chest. That's right. Our team is still looking for that little thief that dared ambush us. If we withdraw like this, won't we let that bastard get away? Who knows? However, this is a command from the guild leader, so we have no choice. The members of Overwhelming Smile were somewhat dissatisfied with Laughing Heaven's command. However, as it was a command from the guild leader himself, they could not disobey. While Overwhelming Smile gradually withdrew from Dragon Ridge, a commotion occurred in Maple City. Many players resting in the city passionately discussed these ambushes and Overwhelming Smile's withdrawal. Bars were particularly lively with such conversations. After all, Overwhelming Smile was Maple City's overlord, and it constantly received attention from the city's players. Now that such a huge incident had occurred, how could it not attract attention? Did you hear? Overwhelming Smile suddenly withdrew all of its members from Dragon Ridge. Of course I heard about it. It really makes you wonder what is going through their leaders' minds. Hee. I have some insider information. I heard that someone is killing Overwhelming Smile players in Dragon Ridge. With no way to deal with this assailant, Overwhelming Smile was forced to withdraw from Dragon Ridge. Oh, blow it out your ass. Overwhelming Smile is our Maple City's absolute overlord. Whoever dares attack them is just looking to die. Hey, don't deny it so quickly. That player that ambushed Overwhelming Smile is no simple character. Suddenly, the players in the bar grew curious. Aside from the fact that Overwhelming Smile was the city's overlord, the guild also had more than its fair share of experts. Otherwise, they would not have successfully raided level 20-man Hell Mode team dungeons one after another. Even until now, aside from Overwhelming Smile, no other guild in Maple City had accomplished such a feat. With these experts, what player had even a chance of challenging the guild? I don't believe it. Who could possibly be so powerful? That's right. Unless a first-rate guild is trying to wage an all-out war against Overwhelming Smile in Maple City, who else would possess such strength? The bar's crowd expressed their doubts. They did not believe any of this information. Moreover, they always had a sense of pride regarding the guild known as Overwhelming Smile. After all, they were all players of the same city. Moreover, Overwhelming Smile was indeed very powerful. Throughout the entire Star Moon Kingdom, only a few guilds could raid level 20 Hell Mode team dungeons. Even if a first-rate guild wished to take strike out at Overwhelming Smile, they would be beaten to death if they set foot in Maple City. Hee. I knew none of you would believe me. However, once I say this name, you will definitely believe me. The male druid giggled. Continue boasting. Who doesn't know how to boast? Suddenly, everyone inside the bar sent contemptuous looks at the independent player. Ha. Let me tell you guys then. The player attacking Overwhelming Smile is Black Flame, Zero Wings guild leader and Star Moon Kingdom's #1 expert. The male druid said very confidently. When the druid finished speaking, the entire bar fell silent. Everyone felt that Black Flame was the only person capable of such a feat. This was because such an incident had once occurred in White River City. Back then, hadn't Overwhelming Smile's many experts been forced to withdraw from the Watch Cemetery precisely because of Black Flame? It could be said that practically everyone in Star Moon Kingdom knew about Black Flame. One hit to deter the guilds in White River City, one battle to be crowned as god. Many players had tried to learn from Black Flame. If they could learn even a fraction of his skills, they could become experts. Meanwhile, Black Flame's title as the one-hit Azura was something that excited countless players. He's the leader of a guild. Moreover, he is the overlord of White River City. Why would he come all the way to Maple City to cause trouble for Overwhelming Smile? Someone suddenly asked. How should I know? Maybe Black Flame plans to lay his hands on Maple City as well? The male druid joked. Silence overtook the entire bar once more. When they thought about it, there was indeed a small possibility of such a situation. After all, Zero Wing was already White River City's overlord. Why would such a powerful guild be satisfied with ruling just a single city? It had to expand sooner or later. Thinking up to this point, everyone could not help but grow excited. Meanwhile, seated in a corner of the bar, a middle-aged man in his late 30s was greatly shocked when he heard this news. This man was none other than Liang Chen, the person who bought land on behalf of Feng. Sure enough, the winds of Maple City are going to change. Liang Chen sighed. In all of Star Moon Kingdom, most likely, only an expert like Black Flame was capable of deterring the overlord of an entire city by himself. Shadow of the Sword. Chapter 528. Characteristic Skill. The news regarding Black Flame quickly spread throughout Maple City. Overwhelming Smile and Zero Wing had been waging an all-out war against each other. No one was surprised that Black Flame had taken his killing all the way to Maple City, considering it perfectly reasonable. Regarding this situation, everyone's opinion of Zero Wing was still quite optimistic. Normally, Overwhelming Smile occupied all the high-resource areas located within the Maple City region, and many players were not happy about that. However, these players would not dare voice their anger as Overwhelming Smile was Maple City's overlord. Now that someone capable of taking out Overwhelming Smile members had emerged, these players would cheer and support them. However, as news of Feng's hunt spread, another event had occurred that excited players in Maple City. Another player-owned shop had emerged in their city, and this shop was the Candlelight Trading Firm. The Candlelight Trading Firm sold a wide variety of goods, with the most precious item being the basic strengthened armor kit. Many players had never even seen the basic strengthened armor kits before. Hence, the moment Maple City's players laid their eyes on the kits, they rushed to purchase their own. As a result, business at the Candlelight Trading Firm was far better than what the Overwhelming Trading Firm enjoyed. Naturally, while there were some who celebrated the Candlelight Trading Firm's new establishment in Maple City, there were others who grew worried. Although the city's players were overjoyed by this situation, Yulan, who was currently inside the Overwhelming Trading Firm, was incensed. Candlelight Trading Firm. Yulan ground her teeth. She had truly not expected that the Candlelight Trading Firm had been preparing to set up a shop in Maple City. Furthermore, Candlelight had managed to obtain a plot of land in the central district of the city. However, this was still not the most infuriating aspect. The most detestable thing was that the Candlelight Trading Firm had actually set up its shop relatively close to the Overwhelming Trading Firm. Due to the Candlelight Trading Firm having the advantage regarding available products, many of the Overwhelming Trading Firm's original customers had shifted their attention towards the Candlelight Trading Firm. Boss, what are we supposed to do now? If this continues, Candlelight will snatch all of our remaining customers, a shop manager asked, concern filling his voice. We don't have a choice. Our only option is to start a price war. Reduce the prices of all goods, Yulan said, sighing helplessly. She did not have any good ideas about how to deal with this situation. Unless they could get their hands on some exclusive items, there was simply no way to compete with the Candlelight Trading Firm. Fortunately, unlike in White River City, the Overwhelming Trading Firm possessed some capital in Maple City, and their two trading firms had started with the same benefits around the same time. In addition, Maple City was their home ground. The cost of harvesting materials was significantly lower here, resulting in a lower production cost. They definitely had a fighting chance against the Candlelight trading firm. In God's domain, shops in different cities, but owned by the same player, shared products. However, while there was no city tax for consigning products to shops in the player's home city, there was a small 8% city tax charged for items consigned to sell at shops in other cities. This was a protection mechanism of sorts implemented to protect the player-owned shops of each respective city. In other words, since the Candlelight trading firm's main headquarters was in White River City, there was an invisible cost added to the items they sold in Maple City. To the overwhelming trading firm, this was an advantage. Sure enough, after the overwhelming trading firm reduced its prices, other than players wanting to purchase products unique to the Candlelight trading firm, players quickly returned to shopping at the overwhelming trading firm. Meanwhile, in the Dragon Ridge, Xueqi was currently having the time of his life. With wave after wave of overwhelming Smile players marching towards their deaths, Xueqi had finally managed to upgrade the Icarus's heart to Dark Gold rank. He was only a short distance away from upgrading the necklace to Epic rank now. Icarus's heart, necklace, Dark Gold rank can be evolved. Equipment requirement. All attributes 120. Level 20. Level 80. Currently level 30. All attributes plus 27. Luck plus 14. Additional characteristic skill. Divine Providence. Temporarily increases player's luck by 32 points for 30 seconds. Cooldown. 40 minutes. Luck, duration, and cooldown can be increased, prolonged, and reduced by sacrificing life force. Maximum of 100 points of life force per sacrifice. Evolution condition. Absorb the life force of 5,000 players to evolve to Epic rank. 748/5000. The base luck alone provided 14 points. That was significantly higher than the initial 5 points. However, that was not the improvement that excited Xueqi the most. Rather, it was the change that had occurred to the Divine Providence skill. Divine Providence had evolved from an ordinary skill to a characteristic skill. Characteristic skills were different from normal skills in which the skill's effects would undergo a transformation when certain conditions were met. The skill now allowed the sacrifice of life force to enhance its effects. Meanwhile, depending on the number of life force points sacrificed, the effects would also vary, with a maximum sacrifice of 100 life force points. Currently, Xueqi had 748 life force points stored in the Icarus's heart. In other words, Xueqi could enhance the Icarus's heart's effects to its maximum 7 times. Since the cooldown has already completed, this is a good chance to test its effects. Xueqi could not contain his excitement when he looked at the bright gemstone around his neck. He could receive 46 points of luck before he had even sacrificed any life force points. This was the highest amount of luck Xueqi had ever seen in either life. If he sacrificed life force points as well, his luck would reach frightening heights. Soon, Xueqi retrieved over a dozen Twilight treasure chests from his bag, laying the chests out neatly in front of him. He then activated Divine Providence and chose to sacrifice 100 life force points. Instantly, his luck rose to 66 points, with the duration of Divine Providence increasing to 40 seconds and cooldown decreasing to 30 minutes. Hurriedly, Xueqi began opening the Twilight treasure chests. With each chest requiring 3 seconds to open, Xueqi just barely managed to open 12 treasure chests in 40 seconds. Losing a few seconds when switching to the next treasure chest was inevitable. Although Xueqi felt slightly disappointed about the time he had lost, when he thought about the additional effects gained from sacrificing life force, his mood instantly brightened again. If he applied that 66 points of luck when killing monsters, the drop rate would be astounding. The rarely seen jackpot might even occur, multiplying the number as well as increasing the quality of the items dropped. Unfortunately, such a powerful effect came at the cost of 100 life force points. He had only managed to kill so many players today due to catching overwhelming Smile unprepared. However, after they set up certain precautions, it would not be as easy to harvest 100 life force points anymore. Of course, Xueqi absolutely refused to commit random murder. Although there were many people in this world who did not have a bottom line, and even more so inside a game, Xueqi was not one of them. This was a fundamental principle of being a human being. If he crossed this line, he would be no different than an animal. Xueqi then began collecting the items inside the twilight treasure chests. Awesome! Xueqi could not help but laugh. Sure enough, the effects of 66 points of luck are truly amazing. Among the 12 twilight treasure chests, he had obtained 4 pieces of Tier 1 set equipment, 1 for Shield Warrior, Guardian Knight, Assassin, and Cleric. Among them, the Tier 1 set equipment for Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights were the most difficult to obtain. Yet, Xueqi had actually obtained 1 piece for both classes. Up until now, Xueqi had collected 4 of the 5 set pieces of the Yin-Yang Walker set equipment for Guardian Knights. He only lacked the boots now. Currently, he had 3 pieces of the Mana Storm set equipment for Tier 1 Elementalists. As for the Dark Melody set equipment for Tier 1 Assassins, like the Yin-Yang Walker, Xueqi now had 4 pieces. He was only missing the head slot. He had 3 set pieces of the Forest Guard set equipment for Tier 1 Rangers. He now had 3 set pieces of the Brave Heart set equipment for Tier 1 Shield Warriors. He had 2 set pieces of the Ghost set equipment for Tier 1 Cursemancers. He also had 3 set pieces of the Angel Wings set equipment for Tier 1 Clerics. By now, Xueqi was close to completing the Tier 1 set equipment for the majority of the available classes. It would not be long before he completed them. At that time, if he led a team of players geared in Tier 1 set equipment into a large-scale team dungeon, who could possibly compete with Zero Wing to obtain first clears? Just the thought excited Xueqi. With such equipment, they could steamroll through even a 100-man team dungeon, let alone a 50-man team dungeon. Just as Xueqi was arranging his new items, he suddenly discovered a glowing purple tablet inside his bag, his chest constricting upon this discovery. Chapter 529. Shop Promotion. Xueqi quickly took the purple tablet from his bag. The tablet displayed a single word. Promotion. However, this promotion order was not a guild residence promotion order. In God's domain, all promotion orders were extraordinarily valuable, and among them were guild residence promotion orders and promotion orders for other specific establishments. However, of these promotion orders, the rarest was the shop promotion order. The tablet in Xueqi's hands right now was none other than the shop promotion order. All shops set up by players in NPC cities began as 1-star shops without exception, regardless of whether it was a 300 gold shop or a 1,000 gold shop. Only, a 1,000 gold shop was far more luxurious, and it had a few more available functions. However, after a shop was promoted to 2-star status, it would undergo a qualitative change. In particular, the benefits a lifestyle player received would be significantly enhanced. It was extremely difficult to obtain a shop promotion order. Unlike a guild residence promotion order that could be obtained from dungeons, a shop promotion order could only be obtained through certain special quests. The only other option was to gain one from treasure chests. However, not just any ordinary treasure chest would drop the promotion order. The treasure chest could not be below level 40, and it must be fine gold rank or above. There was also a certain probability to obtain one from rank-less treasure chests such as the Twilight treasure chest. However, the chances of obtaining a shop promotion order were simply too minuscule. Normally, players would obtain it through a challenge quest. However, since it was a challenge quest relating to a shop's promotion, it was not so easy to receive or complete it. Such challenge quests were no less difficult than epic quests. Hence, there were extremely few shops capable of completing them. Because of this, the promotion orders obtained through treasure chests were extremely valuable, and countless businessmen would offer astronomical prices for one. Xueqi had only obtained this item due to a stroke of luck. With this item, I can finally monopolize White River City's trade with the Candlelight Trading Firm. Xueqi returned the shop promotion order to his bag and took out a return scroll. Since it was no longer easy to locate overwhelming Smile players, he had no reason to remain here. Meanwhile, now that he had obtained a shop promotion order, he needed to go and promote his shop. In God's domain settings, unlike in other virtual reality games where using one shop promotion order would promote every shop that player owned, players in God's domain required one promotion order for every shop they owned should they wish to upgrade them all. However, Xueqi had long since made up his mind. Zero Wing's roots lay in White River City, so the shop promotion order must be used on one of the shops there. As for the shops in Star Moon City and Maple City, Unless he had excess, he would not waste any promotion orders on these two cities. After using the return scroll, Xueqi returned to Maple City. However, Xueqi was in no hurry to return to White River City. Instead, he first went to investigate the Overwhelming Trading Firm. Now, he had already heavily damaged Overwhelming Smile's hidden trump card, which would severely impact its dungeon raiding process. He had also killed plenty of Overwhelming Smile's elite members, causing significant damages to the guild. Not to mention, due to a lack of resources, the development of Overwhelming Smile's branch in White River City had also been wounded. If this situation continued, the gap between Overwhelming Smile and Zero Wing would only grow as more time went by. The only fighting chance Overwhelming Smile had right now was the Overwhelming Trading Firm. If the Overwhelming Trading Firm developed successfully, Overwhelming Smile would have the coins required to fight a war of attrition against Zero Wing. In addition to its ample funds and enormous background, the guild's development speed would soar. After all, a massive organization such as Underworld possessed the mechanisms required to nurture experts. Only, everyone had yet to adapt to God's domain fully. Once they did, however, with sufficient coins and funds, in addition to experts giving out pointers, it would be very easy for Overwhelming Smile to nurture a large number of experts. Although Zero Wing seemed to prosper right now, in reality, it was still significantly inferior to other major guilds, particularly in terms of training mechanics for experts. God's domain was mankind's second world. It was not a game with a short lifespan. A guild's strength was not determined by wins and losses. Instead, it was determined by how long the guild in question could remain in power. In the past, there had been many guilds that had prospered greatly for a period. However, after some time had passed, they still crumbled and eventually faded out of existence entirely. Based on this, one could easily tell the gap between guilds. This was why Shadow had remained a second-rate guild in the past. It was because the guild had only been recently established and did not possess the necessary mechanisms to nurture experts. Although the guild had succeeded in establishing such mechanisms during the middle stages of God's domain, said mechanisms were far inferior to that of first-rate guilds. In the end, the gap between Shadow and the first-rate guilds of God's domain only grew wider as time went on. Hence, Xueqi wanted to establish such training mechanisms as soon as possible and produce an endless stream of experts for Zero Wing. Only then could Zero Wing become a true powerhouse. This was also one of the reasons why first-rate guilds looked down on Zero Wing. They all shared the same thought. You are only strong right now. What about in a few months? Let's see how you fare in 1 or 2 years. All guilds that had achieved the status of a first-rate guild possessed a history over a decade long. Some had even survived several decades. When Xueqi arrived before the Overwhelming Trading Firm, he could see a constant stream of players enter and exit the shop. As for the Candlelight Trading Firm, which was only a short distance away, although the shop also had plenty of customers, there were significantly less than the Overwhelming Trading Firm. Overwhelming Trading Firm's items sure are cheap. I can buy another stack of advanced whetstones with the money I saved. That's right. Not only are the items cheap, but I never expected that it would also push out a new product. Unfortunately, the shop didn't have many for sale, and I didn't have the chance to buy one. Are you talking about the magic damage potion? Yeah, that's right. It's that item. I'm an elementalist. If I drink that potion, it can increase my magic damage by 5% for half an hour. It would help significantly when I'm grinding monsters or raiding dungeons. Xueqi had initially planned to enter the shop to investigate. However, upon hearing the conversation of a few players who had just left the Overwhelming Trading Firm, he could not help but stop and listen. Magic damage potion? Xueqi was not a stranger to this item. The recipe for the potion only had a chance of dropping from level 20 Hell Mode Team dungeons. However, its production difficulty was very high. At the very least, one needed to be a basic alchemist. Even then, the success rate of crafting one hovered around 20% to 30%. Sure enough, I cannot underestimate Underworld. I just established a shop at Maple City, and already, there is someone capable of producing such a potion. Xueqi was not particularly surprised at discovering this information. Overwhelming Smile was a massive guild. Its members didn't consist of purely combat players. The guild nurtured a large number of lifestyle players as well, so it was only natural for someone to be capable of producing the magic damage potion. However, this was not good news for the Candlelight Trading Firm. the magic damage potion was not unique to the overwhelming trading firm. Zero Wing had also obtained a few magic damage potion recipes. However, even now, the Candlelight trading firm had yet to successfully nurture a single basic alchemist, so they could not produce it. Xueqi decided not to linger. Immediately, he headed to the teleportation hall and returned to White River City. Upon arriving at White River City, the first thing Xueqi did was head towards the city hall and upgrade the Candlelight trading firm next to the auction house to a 2-star shop. When a shop was promoted to 2-star status, the building itself could also undergo an upgrade. However, a significant sum was required for the reconstruction. Without hesitation, Xueqi spent 1,000 gold to reconstruct the shop. The reconstruction did not take much time at all. It was done in just a dozen minutes or so. Suddenly, the 3-story tall Candlelight trading firm rose to 5 stories. It became an extraordinarily eye-catching display beside the auction house, attracting the attention and discussion of many players. It was common knowledge that shops could only possess a maximum of 3 floors. Throughout the entire God's domain, there had yet to be a single player-owned shop that had more than that. Yet, now, the Candlelight trading firm's shop had 5. Guild leader, what did you do? Why has the shop suddenly gone from being 3 stories to 5 stories tall? After the reconstruction of the shop completed, Melancholic Smile contacted Xueqi immediately, unable to help her curiosity. Chapter 530. Special Space. The Candlelight trading firm developed very quickly, and it constantly recruited lifestyle players. Despite the Candlelight trading firm having 2 high-end shops in White River City, they simply did not have enough space to house over 1,000 lifestyle players. For each of the 3-story tall shops, the first floors were used exclusively for selling products, the second floor housed the various workshops, and the third floor housed the warehouse, offices, and lounges. Hence, not many workshops in each shop were available for the firm's lifestyle players' use. As a result, Melancholic Smile had no choice but to send the lifestyle players to the various lifestyle associations to produce items. Although the matter of space could be resolved this way, it significantly increased the firm's expenditures. Renting the workshops in the lifestyle associations required money. A basic workshop's impact on a player's success rate was insignificant. So, Melancholic Smile mostly rented intermediate workshops for the firm's lifestyle players. Meanwhile, renting an intermediate workshop cost 1 silver per hour. If she rented workshops for 100 people, that was 1 gold per hour. If she rented enough workshops for 1,000 people, that was 10 gold per hour. 10 gold coins. That was almost a small guild's total liquid funds. Melancholic Smile even considered suggesting that Xueqi purchase a few more plots of land and establish more shops. Unfortunately, in order to satisfy the current number of lifestyle players they had in the firm, they would require 2 or 3 plots of land. However, the situation had changed. Now, the Candlelight trading firm next to the auction house had been promoted to a 5-story building. Although it seemed that it had only gained 2 more floors, it was equivalent to having 2 more shops worth of workshops. In fact, the space inside the shop had also grown. It was now roughly a little more than twice the original size. With so much space, the Candlelight trading firm could save a lot on rental fees. Melancholic Smile only wished that Xueqi would upgrade all of the Candlelight trading firm's shops. That way, the firm would not have to spend any money on renting workshops. Xueqi could not help but laugh at Melancholic Smile's reaction. In the past, even after God's domain had operated for over a year, countless players were unable to promote their 1-star shops to 2 stars. It was purely due to luck that the Candlelight trading firm had obtained the promotion order so quickly. It was practically impossible to obtain another shop promotion order from the Twilight treasure chests. Though if he could upgrade the Icarus's heart to epic rank, there might be a small chance for Xueqi to obtain a second one. Xueqi then had Melancholic Smile meet him in the meeting room on the 5th floor of the firm with cream cocoa and roasted iron heart. The benefits a 2-star shop offered were not limited to an increase in space. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many players desperately trying to upgrade their 1-star shops to 2-star shops in the past, willingly spending tens of thousands of gold to obtain a shop promotion order. Meanwhile, the news of the Candlelight trading firm owning a 2-star shop spread quickly. After all of White River City knew of the Candlelight trading firm. A majority of the players residing in the city had shopped at the trading firm at least once before. Now that one of the shops had mysteriously grown, it would definitely attract a lot of attention. Young Master Feng. There is some movement over at the candlelight trading firm. They have actually managed to establish a 5-story shop. When I went over to investigate, I found that the first floor has doubled in size. The number of items they can put on display has also significantly increased. A player specifically tasked to investigate the candlelight trading firm reported. 5 stories? Larger than before? Feng Xianyang could not help but sneer. The candlelight trading firm is certainly ambitious. While producing light stones, they also expanded their shop to prepare for the new sales. What a pity. Truly a pity. So what if they have a larger space? Now that I have stolen the 3 of the advanced forging apprentices capable of producing the light stones, that shop will only have empty shelves to show off. He still felt the sting from the large amount of money he had spent to poach those 3 advanced forging apprentices. However, the thought of how the candlelight trading firm could no longer produce the light stones soothed the pain in his heart. Right. How are we developing in Maple City? Feng Xianyang asked the somewhat chubby man beside him. I heard that the candlelight trading firm has set up a shop close to the overwhelming trading firm. This should have significantly impacted the overwhelming trading firm's business. Young Master Feng, please rest assured. Although the candlelight trading firm is impressive, Maple City is our home ground. Moreover, Miss Yulan has succeeded in inviting that great personage to help us. The magic damage potions they have produced have single-handedly driven the overwhelming trading firm's business. Candlelight has no chance against us. It won't be long before the overwhelming trading firm stabilizes its status as Maple City's #1 trading firm. Also, when that great personage's alchemy proficiency advances or when we obtain an item that increases success rate, he will be able to produce that item. At that time, not even the candlelight trading firm in White River City will be a challenge, the chubby man said, giggling. Good. It's as expected of the woman who the higher-ups favor. As long as the overwhelming trading firm conquers White River City, my status will rise along the tides. At that time, my succession of the household will be set in stone. Feng Xuanyang's eyes suddenly glowed. He truly never expected that Yulan would successfully recruit that great personage from Underworld. That great personage was only a lifestyle player. However, by relying on his superb talents, he had profited Underworld in many virtual reality games, and gradually throughout the years, he had become a force to be reckoned with in the organization. Even Underworld's upper managers tread carefully when around him. Although Feng Xianyang had thought of trying to invite that great personage before, he simply did not qualify to do so. Meanwhile, the fact that Yulan had recruited that great personage's help showed just how capable she was. It seems that I'll have to rope that woman in the future. Feng Xianyang licked his lips as he pondered. Although he had only been interested in gentle snow in the past, Yulan's temperament, figure, and appearance were not one bit inferior to gentle snows. In certain aspects, Yulan was even superior to the snow goddess. If he could make Yulan his woman, it would benefit him greatly in the future. His chances of becoming the master of his household would increase. In the meeting room on the 5th floor of the candlelight trading firm, Shifeng noticed Melancholic smile and the others stand to greet him the moment he entered. Guild leader, seeing as you were in such a hurry to look for us, do you have some sort of surprise for us? Cream Cocoa revealed her anticipation as she gazed at Shifeng with her large eyes. She knew that Shifeng would never call for a meeting with them for no reason, and in every meeting, Shifeng always had something prepared for the 3 of them. Hence, she very much loved meetings. You really are perceptive, Shifeng laughed faintly. He then said, follow me then. I'll show you guys something. Shifeng then led the 3 forgers out of the meeting room, arriving before a room a short distance away. The candlelight trading firm's reconstruction had only completed a short while ago. There were still many areas inside the shop that Melancholic Smile and the others were unfamiliar with. In particular, there were some rooms that Shifeng had locked. Not even Melancholic Smile was allowed to enter. The room he led the forgers to was one such location. Guild leader, isn't this a workshop? Cream Cocoa asked curiously. You'll understand once you enter, Shifeng laughed as he slowly opened the door. Once the door opened, the trio behind Shifeng was stunned by what they saw. A completely different world awaited them beyond the door. When the door opened, a fragrant smell and beautiful scenery greeted each of them. The room even contained a small creek. The most incredible part of the room was the ball of water floating in the middle of the room. That's a simulation device. Melancholic Smile was immediately surprised when she saw that floating ball of water. Originally, simulation devices could only be found in the library of White River City. It was a tool that allowed players to learn or craft their own spells. Melancholic Smile had never imagined that this workshop would also contain one. Simulation device? Cream Cocoa asked, confused. White River City's library also has a water ball. The simulation device there allows players to learn or create spells. However, the simulation device here is slightly different. It is meant to assist lifestyle players with producing items. Through the simulation, you guys can discover the flaws you have when producing an item. At the same time, it can also aid you in creating a completely new item. With this, you won't have to waste a lot of materials and can freely try producing as many items as you want. This is a function that only special workshops possess, Xueqi explained. Chapter 531. Frightening Talent. I've already set this place as a special forging room. You will have a higher success rate than even in the advanced forging rooms with any items you forge in here. The effects are especially obvious when you forge complicated and high-quality items. Hearing Xueqi's explanation, Melancholic Smile and the others were so excited that they were speechless. This surprise was simply too huge. Players who had never produced a high-quality item before had no idea how difficult it was to produce one. It was an extremely delicate job. Not only was the success rate very low, but the slightest mistake would also result in the item's destruction. Naturally, practicing the forging process for a long time would help significantly. However, high-quality materials were extremely rare. They had no opportunity to experiment and familiarize themselves with the forging procedures. They could rely on their experience and hope that, after repeatedly producing the item, they would become proficient with the design and reduce the amount of wasted materials. With this simulation device, however, they could practice as much as they wanted to, constantly modifying and upgrading their techniques. This would be of immeasurable help to them. Moreover, after players became forgers in God's domain, if they wished to become a master forger, they had to create their own items. Otherwise, it would not be possible for one to become a master forger at all. Hence, players normally began to accumulate experience of creating items when they became basic forgers. By the time they became advanced forgers, they would attempt to create new items constantly. However, with this simulation device, they could save a significant amount of time and effort. Of course, this did not come without a price. The simulation device needed energy to run, and magic crystals supplied that energy. Fortunately, it was relatively easy to obtain magic crystals. After all, they had a certain drop rate from dungeons. Guild leader, you're too awesome. Indescribable joy filled Cream Cocoa when she stepped into the room. Although Melancholic Smile and Roasted Iron Heart were not as simple-minded and pure as Cream Cocoa, not revealing their thoughts so easily, they still could not help but approach the magic water ball when they entered the room. They loved all of the tools in this room so much that they simply could not bear to part with them. They would not trade this forging room away, even if someone offered them a luxury car. The value of this special forging room far surpassed those luxury cars. Moreover, one could not buy a special forging room so easily. In the Forging Association, the advanced forging room was the best one could rent. Special forging rooms were only available in 2-star shops or above. This was also why so many players in the past had dreamed of upgrading their shops to 2-star status. The fragrant aroma inside the special forging room relaxed anyone who came into contact with it. The environment inside the room could also be adjusted to suit the user. Just the impact the forging room provided to one's mental state was significant. Using this room was practically a luxury. Not to mention, the flame and tools in an advanced forging room could not compare to those in this room. Although the flame in the special forging room could not match a Tier 2 mysterious flame, it was very close. However, Xueqi had already switched the flame here to the ice blue devil flame, further increasing the forging success rate. The special forging rooms are extremely limited in number. A 2-star shop only has 5 rooms. Among them, I have reserved 3 for you guys. I've already given you the authority over these rooms, so you will only be able to enter your respective special forging room. As for the remaining 2, I've set one as an alchemy room and the other as a forging room. Melancholic, if you find anyone talented in alchemy or forging, you can let them use these 2 rooms. However, you must first have them sign another contract. The effects that special workshops provide are extraordinary. It improves a player's techniques. It is far more valuable than any mere forging design, Xueqi said sternly. Guild leader, you can rest assured. I won't allow any of those traitorous bastards near these special forging rooms, Melancholic smile assured. While it was difficult to obtain forging designs in God's domain, it was many times more difficult to train a highly skilled lifestyle player. This was precisely the function of these special training rooms, so they would not use them to nurture traitors. Afterward, Xueqi let Melancholic smile handle the remaining matters regarding the candlelight trading firm and logged out of the game. It was already daytime in the real world, with the sun shining brightly in the sky. I played for so long and never noticed. Xueqi smiled bitterly when he looked at the time, discovering that it was already nearing 1 p.m. However, there was nothing Xueqi could do about that. Not only had he come across such a priceless opportunity to evolve the Icarus's heart, but he had also obtained a shop promotion order. He could not log out of the game even if he wanted to. After Xueqi ate and was about to rest, his quantum watch rang. Hello, Master Xueqi. I have completed the task you requested yesterday. You can have people visit the training area at any time. The female assistant, Liang Jing, reported respectfully through the video call. Ever since the fight at Big Dipper, he had become popular in Jinhai City. Many of Jinhai City's powerful figures hoped to meet with Xueqi. Unfortunately, Xueqi had rejected all of these requests. He had not been trying to be arrogant by doing so. He just did not have the time to spare. His future development was not aimed towards the world of fighting, but towards God's domain. Naturally, he could not waste too much time and effort on physical competition. Besides, these interpersonal relationships mattered little to Xueqi. If not for his victory over a top-tier master like Lei Bao, these people would not attempt to befriend him. If he had not defeated Lei Bao, these people would not even care if he existed. In other words, a person's strength was the key to success. As long as he continued to grow stronger, many more high-profile figures would seek his company. Hence, Xueqi had instructed Liang Jing to handle these affairs for him, and he had to admit that this female assistant was quite capable. Not only had she managed to dismiss all those who wanted to meet him, but she had also done it in a way that satisfied everyone. However, all these were only small matters. What truly amazed Xueqi was her integration of Big Dipper's inner training area and the training system's improvement. Even Xueqi admired Liang Jing's capabilities. She had actually accomplished all of this in such a short time. No wonder Chairman Xiao had her as his head assistant. Xueqi read through the information Liang Jing had sent, shocked by what he saw. This was the first time Xueqi had seen such management abilities. She was leaps and bounds above a manager like Blackie. Management talent. Xueqi suddenly thought of another matter. The guild's daily affairs have hampered Aqua's progress of her combat techniques lately. Moreover, I will also need someone to help integrate the candlelight trading firm and Zero Wing. Melancholic Smile has been busy dealing with this so far, not giving her much time to improve her own forging techniques either. At this rate, the two of them will soon be buried in management work. What if I have Liang Jing handle these affairs? Xueqi pondered as he gazed at Liang Jing's image on the screen. If he had someone who could liberate Aqua Rose and Melancholic Smile from their management duties, allowing them to display their original talent fully, it would benefit both Zero Wing and the candlelight trading firm's development. Liang Jing was a very good option for this position. However, Liang Jing was Xiao Yu's subordinate. Meanwhile, both Zero Wing and the candlelight trading firm possessed many secrets. It was an extreme risk to hand their management over to an outsider. There was also the fact that Xueqi had little to no knowledge of this female assistant. While Xueqi focused on Liang Jing, the latter also noticed Xueqi's odd gaze, and she could not help her discomfort. He couldn't be. Chapter 532. The Most Powerful Newbie. Xueqi's current status in society was worlds apart from what it had been. Although he did not exude any sort of aura, from Liang Jing's point of view, this silence weighed down on her. Previously, she had belittled Xueqi. Although she had not said anything, She had struggled to accept Xiao Yu's instruction to escort a youthful little brat like Feng to the assembly hall. Hence, she had purposefully treated Feng with a little disrespect. Now, however, Liang Jing regretted her actions. She really shouldn't have treated Feng impertinently back then. After all, someone who could earn Chairman Zhao's respect wouldn't be an ordinary character, even if it were only a young man in his early 20s. He can't be thinking of replacing me, right? Liang Jing worried. There were countless people out there who dreamed of becoming the assistant to a character like Feng. In the VIP room that day, many of Jinhai City's influential figures had hoped to send Feng assistants, taking the chance to deepen their relationship with the popular young man. Meanwhile, she had only received this job due to her advantage of being Xiao Yu's most valued assistant. If Feng dismissed her, only tragedy would await her. She had seen countless wealthy and well-stated princelings who were immeasurably arrogant. These people got rid of anything or anyone that irked them. Meanwhile, a successful young man such as Feng, whose status in society was far superior to even Xiao Yu's, was even more likely to behave in such a way. Watching Feng's solemn gaze, Liang Jing's heartbeat accelerated. Am I going to be fired, just like that? Liang Jing inwardly despaired. Suddenly, Feng spoke. Miss Liang Jing, thank you for your trouble. I'll leave to inspect the training grounds you've arranged in a moment. Although Feng might appear to gaze at Liang Jing solemnly, in reality, he was simply pondering how he should go about making Liang Jing one of his people, liberating both Aqua Rose and Melancholic Smile's potentials. He had not paid any attention to Liang Jing herself. However, after considering the matter for some time, he had not come up with a proper solution. Hence, he could only set the matter aside for now. After all, Liang Jing was someone Xiao Yu had sent. If Liang Jing became the manager of Zero Wing and the Candlelight Trading Firm, she would wield the core secrets of both organizations. Hence, Feng needed to be careful with his decision. Although Liang Jing's management capabilities were extraordinary, he first needed to familiarize himself with her personality. He had time to make the decision after he got to know her a bit. Liang Jing was surprised. Inadvertently, she breathed a sigh of relief. She had fully expected Feng to dismiss her when he opened his mouth to speak. Hurriedly she said, Master Feng, I'll have a car sent to receive you immediately. Meanwhile, at the Big Dipper Training Center, the situation had undergone a massive transformation. The training center's employees were all in an extraordinarily good mood. Even the guests who frequented the training center were in a fiery mood. The training center had regained its past popularity. By now, everyone had heard the news that the Big Dipper Training Center had finally recruited a top-tier master to serve as an instructor. In this age, where mankind focused on personal fitness, everyone placed great importance on their own physical condition. Only through proper training and the assistance of medicine could one significantly improve their lifespan. In the past, people who had survived past the age of 100 were extremely rare. In today's society, however, many were easily capable of living past 120 years old. In addition, they could retain their youth for a long period. In the past, one would practically lose all semblance of youth past the age of 50. Now, however, even after reaching 70 years old, some still possessed their youthful vigor and appearances as if they were in their 40s. However, they were mostly martial arts masters. Ordinary people had yet to reach that level of health. In the past, Tai Chi grandmasters had lifespans surpassing 150 years. In the ancient world, that had practically been a miracle. Nowadays, with the support of technology, it was not impossible for humans to live that long. Hence, many people wished to strengthen their own bodies. Master Feng, this is the training ground the company has prepared for you. What do you think? Liang Jing pointed towards an exotic and elegant 3-story villa. Originally, the company had planned to turn this into a resort gold status members or above. However, when Feng requested a training ground that was free of disturbances, the only place they could think of that fit Feng's requirements was this villa. This villa was equipped with state-of-the-art training equipment, and the building's surroundings were the best Big Dipper Training Center had to offer. There was even a gravity training room in the villa that could fit up to several hundred people at a single time. When Liang Jing heard that the company had assigned this area to Feng, she was greatly shocked. This Greenwater villa was Big Dipper's treasure. Now, the company had actually given Feng full authority over this place. Liang Jing had only realized how important Feng was to the company after this decision had been made. Not bad. This is an impressive location. Feng nodded his head with satisfaction. In reality, he had both visited and lived in the Greenwater Villa before. It was certainly a valuable area. Feng had even considered moving the guild's core members here, particularly the upper managers of the workshop. Although the workshop he had bought was quite good, the facilities available there were nothing compared to the Greenwater Villa. Miss Liang Jing, can I trouble you to ask Chairman Xiao to move all 10 virtual gaming cabins we previously agreed upon here? Feng asked after giving it some thought. Nurturing experts was easier said than done. Naturally, the more advanced the training and recovery facilities were, the more progress those experts could make. In particular, the gravity training room was immensely helpful to players. Hence, Feng planned to move a portion of Zero Wing's core members to the Greenwater Villa. He also intended to move here. By doing so, he could give pointers to others at any time. He could also scour for talents at the Big Dipper Training Center. God's Domain was unlike any other virtual reality game as it placed heavy emphasis on actual combat. The further one progressed in the game, the more realistic and difficult the battles would become. Producing experts would become much easier if he chose to nurture players who were already somewhat skilled in combat. Master Feng, please rest assured. I will have the 10 virtual gaming cabins installed in the Greenwater Villa by today. I will have the S-rank nutrient fluid sent over as well, Liang Jing said slowly. The Big Dipper Training Center had already gone all out this time. Both the virtual gaming cabins and the S-rank nutrient fluids were extremely difficult to obtain. However, in order to rope in Feng, they spared no expense or effort. Following which, Feng notified Blackie and the other upper managers, having them come to Big Dipper's Greenwater Villa. Brother Feng, am I dreaming? We can really live here? Blackie asked with disbelief when he arrived before the Greenwater Villa. For commoners like himself, the Big Dipper Training Center was a place he could not visit even if he wanted to. Only members were allowed here. As for the villa before him, normal members were probably not even allowed here. Yet now, people like them had the chance to live in this villa. They were merely professional gamers. To a massive existence like the Big Dipper Training Center, they were negligible. Even Fire Dance, Violet Cloud, and the 5 demon generals standing beside Blackie were stunned into silence. They were just commoners in real life. They did not dare consider entering such a high-class location. Even the Zero Wing workshop Feng had established had surprised them. They had never known that a gaming workshop could be so luxurious. Now, they were even more surprised. They were actually going to live in such a high-class village. Everyone had yet to learn about Feng being a martial arts master, much less about the fight that made him famous overnight. Big brother Feng, I heard that the daily rental here is very expensive, Violet Cloud worriedly commented. That's right. Normally, each person has to pay several thousand credits per day to stay here. However, from today onwards, this will be Zero Wing's training base. Feng nodded. It is not as easy to mingle in God's domain as you think it is. Hence, from today onwards, I will work with all of you frequently. However, I will only instruct you on your combat techniques in God's domain. I'll leave your training in the real world to someone else. Someone else? Everyone was surprised. That's right. This is Master Lei Bao. He has only recently joined Zero Wing, and from today onwards, he will handle your daily training. This is a rare opportunity that many will never have no matter how much they wish for it, so you must cherish it. Feng introduced the martial arts master. Although he was skilled in God's domain combat, he did not know how to train people in the real world. On the other hand, Lei Bao was a bona fide top-tier master, someone who was only a short distance away from reaching the realm of Grandmaster. When it came to training people in the real world, Lei Bao was far more qualified than he was. Chapter 533. Overwhelming Force. When the group heard Feng's introduction, they were dumbfounded. Everyone present knew just how precious a martial arts master was. Many professional fighters would do anything just to receive advice from a martial arts master, let alone personal tutorage. Moreover, their instructor was a top-tier master. Never in their dreams would something like this happen. For a second, Blackie and the others even thought that they had heard wrong. However, after spending time in God's domain, everyone's senses had improved considerably. By now, they were already capable of making a rough estimate of another person's strength. Lei Bao also made no attempt to hide his beast-like aura in the slightest. Just basking in his aura made their bodies feel heavier. If not for Xueqi standing beside Lei Bao, they would have fled immediately as this oppressive feeling was truly unbearable. Although none of them knew Lei Bao's exact strength, none of them doubted that Lei Bao could wipe the floor with all of them in less than 10 seconds. Master Lei Bao, I'll have to trouble you then. Xueqi could see everyone's surprise and knew how incredulous of a situation was. However, this was all definitely real. Not even famous professional fighters would have access to these benefits. If Blackie and the others could not improve with Lei Bao's help, then he really had no other means of helping them. In the past, under Shadow's arrangement, Xueqi had sought out many masters to learn from. He had not been as lucky as Blackie and the others. Being stood up by a martial arts master after several weeks of waiting was a normal occurrence to Xueqi. As for personal tutorage, that was just a dream. No problem. Since we agreed upon this beforehand, I will hold up my end of our bargain. Lei Bao nodded. He then shifted his gaze to Blackie and the others, faintly smiling he said, "All of you, follow me. I'll have a look at your foundations before planning your training." Under Lei Bao's watchful gaze, everyone felt their hair stand on end. They all had a bad premonition about what was to come. Unfortunately, with Lei Bao's personality, even if they did not want the training, he would not show any mercy. Guild leader. The group sent pitiful looks towards Xueqi. However, Xueqi only waved them off. With Lei Bao's training, Xueqi hoped that they could learn how to control their bodies more efficiently. Once they learned that control, they could display frightening combat power in God's domain. When it came to control over one's body, Lei Bao had reached perfection. That he had reached the standard of tiger roaring showed that Lei Bao knew a unique method to train his physical control. Otherwise, he could never train his body to the degree of merging his internal and external power. Compared to a half-baked martial arts master like Xueqi, Lei Bao was a powerhouse. While Lei Bao trained Blackie and the others, Xueqi did not remain idle as he headed towards the Greenwater Villa's gravity training room. Now that Xueqi's brain activity had significantly improved, if he wished to control the lock on his physical power completely, he needed to possess sufficient strength. Otherwise, his body would crumble, unable to withstand the sudden release in power. Lei Bao, on the other hand, was different. He was a true martial artist, someone who had trained in the arts since he was young. Even if he released the limiter his brain had placed on his body could easily handle the additional power. The gravity training room would help enhance physical toughness immensely. There were also various medicine and healing cabins available for one to recuperate as they needed. Since Xueqi had access to these facilities, he had to train as much as he could. After Xueqi had spent half the day training, Liang Jing had finished with her tasks at the Greenwater Villa. Currently, every Zero Wing member had a virtual gaming cabin in their room, coupled with an unlimited supply of A-rank nutrient fluids. However, the most valuable item was still the S-rank nutrient fluids. Each person had received one bottle. With it, everyone could fully replenish their brain's energy. Such expenditure had left even Liang Jing, someone who had seen various aspects of high society before, stunned. Not only was there a top-tier martial arts master serving as an instructor, but everyone had also been provided with a bottle of S-rank nutrient fluids. How was this supposed to be training for professional gamers? Those who did not know better might even think that these youths trained to participate in the national fighting competition. Was such extravagance necessary just to play a game? Xueqi could very much relate to Liang Jing. The chances of a single guild currently spending so much to nurture their experts were nil. The same could be said even for super guilds. However, that was simply because no one had realized the importance of a top-tier expert yet. Moreover, God's domain had only recently become popular, so its influence over the real world was still very faint. However, with the passing of time, God's domain's popularity would grow, and soon, it would become a part of everyone's daily life, becoming a true second world of mankind. People had the chance to live a different life in God's domain. They could explore all the mysteries this new world had to offer and perform feats that were normally impossible. The wealth one could earn in the game was immeasurable, and various fighting competitions would come to God's domain. These competitions were even more exciting than the fights in the real world. After Xueqi instructed everyone on their combat techniques in-game, he retired to his room and logged in, beginning a new day in God's domain. The moment Xueqi logged in, he began to open Twilight treasure chests. Without hesitation, he activated Divine Providence and sacrificed 100 life force points. Inside the quiet forging room, the 12 Twilight treasure chests on the floor released a dazzling aurora that filled the room. Ha! It can't be, right? It's possible to obtain this too? Xueqi looked at the golden book in his hand. Xueqi was already relatively happy about being able to obtain several more pieces of Tier 1 set equipment from the 12 treasure chests. However, upon seeing this glowing golden book, his joy became utter shock. The Book of Gold. This was the best possible item a lifestyle guild could obtain from the Twilight treasure chest. This book was not any ordinary item. It was a consumable item that would vanish after use. To an individual lifestyle player, this book's effects were not particularly significant. To a lifestyle guild, however, it surpassed even that of an epic item. Book of Gold, consumable. Permanently increases the proficiency of a single player's lifestyle skill by 1 rank to a maximum of master rank. Can also be used to increase the proficiency of 100 players' lifestyle skills by 1 rank to a maximum of advanced forger, for 2 days. With this item, I can temporarily promote those advanced forging apprentices to basic forgers and promote Cream Cocoa and the others to intermediate forgers, significantly increasing their production speed and success rate. Xueqi could already imagine just how frightening the candlelight trading firm would become with a sudden influx of so many basic forgers. Although there was only a gap of 1 rank between a basic forger and an advanced forging apprentice, it was a massive gap. Using the light stones as an example, while advanced forging apprentices only had a success rate of 20% to 30%, basic forgers had a success rate of 60% or higher. Not to mention, many items required one to be at least a basic forger to craft them. Until now, there were only 3 basic forgers in all of White River City. Melancholic Smile and the other 2. Other cities might not even have 1 basic forger, let alone 3. If the Candlelight Trading Firm had 100 forgers, its impact on the market would be astronomical. Most likely, even if one added together all the forgers throughout Star Moon Kingdom right now, that number would not even reach half of the Candlelight Trading Firms. Melancholic, contact all trustworthy advanced forging apprentices immediately and have them gather in the 5th floor meeting room. Xueqi did not wish to leave the Book of Gold unused. Chapter 534. Fire Dragon Potion. Maple City, Overwhelming Trading Firm. Master Aspiration. May I know if you are satisfied with the Overwhelming Trading Firm's advanced alchemy room? Yulan asked softly as she watched the white-haired old man standing beside the workbench. Currently, this old man held a purple glass bottle and gently swirled it around. Yulan was extra careful when dealing with this old man, Master Silent Aspiration, treating him with more respect than even Feng Xianyang. Although this white-haired old man was already past 70 years old, even Underworld's upper management had to show this man great respect, much less a young woman like herself. Before Yulan had even been born, this old man had explored virtual reality games for many years, and throughout all these years, he had focused fully on the art of alchemy. In this day and age, nobody in the virtual gaming world's alchemy industry did not know the name Silent Aspiration. Old man Silent Aspiration was already a basic alchemist. Meanwhile, if Xueqi could see the potion this old man was concocting right now, he would find it both shocking and familiar. The potion in the glass bottle was a fire resistance potion. However, it was not just any fire resistance potion. It was a modified variation. In the past, this potion had been known as the Fire Dragon Potion, and it had been extremely famous throughout God's domain. Not only did it provide more fire resistance than a basic fire resistance potion, but its duration was also much longer. Most importantly, the Fire Dragon Potion increased a player's strength by 10 points during its duration. The Fire Dragon Potion's effects could also stack to a maximum of 50 strength and 100 fire resistance. To an ordinary player, 50 strength was a significant increase, not to mention experts. Not bad. I never expected that you, little girl, could actually obtain such a good bottle. This has finally allowed me to complete my newly developed potion. Silent Aspiration smiled at the red liquid inside the purple bottle. Satisfied, he said. Sure enough, it is as I surmised. Not only will the fire resistance stack, but the strength bonus will also stack. Seeing as the basic version of the potion already possesses such wonderful effects, let's call this the Fire Dragon Potion. Little girl, consider yourself lucky. Master Aspiration, you truly are amazing. You are actually capable of producing such a powerful potion. May I know the success rate for this Fire Dragon Potion? Yulan's eyes lit up with joy when she saw the Fire Dragon Potion's effects. In order to convince Master Silent Aspiration to come to Maple City and help Overwhelming Smile, she had to go through much difficulty to obtain this set of mysterious iron alchemy equipment. However, compared to the value of this Fire Dragon Potion, a set of mysterious iron alchemy equipment was nothing considerable. Relax. If this old man crafts the potions personally, my success rate is 50%, and though the success rate of other alchemists might be below 30%, the materials I've used to concoct this potion are all common. It won't do much harm to waste some. Silent Aspiration laughed. To develop the Fire Dragon Potion, he had invested a lot of time. Otherwise, he would have long since become an intermediate alchemist by now. Many thanks for Master Aspiration's help. Now that we have the Fire Dragon Potion, as long as we nurture a large number of alchemists, the Candlelight Trading Firm will no longer be a problem, Yulan said confidently. As the creator of the Fire Dragon Potion, Silent Aspiration could distribute its recipe to as many people as he wanted. It would be extremely easy for the Overwhelming Trading Firm to develop a small army of alchemists. Moreover, the Overwhelming Trading Firm would have exclusive rights to sell the Fire Dragon Potion. It was far more precious than any rare forging design or recipe. It was impossible for anyone outside the trading firm to produce it. With this potion, who could possibly challenge the Overwhelming Trading Firm? I've already produced what you requested. Little girl, if you wish to keep me here, you need to remember the secret silver equipment you promised me. Silent Aspiration reminded her. To this old man, nothing was more valuable than refining his alchemy. In particular, the alchemy in God's domain was unbelievable. If possible, he would have immersed himself in research every day. Unfortunately, his equipment was not good enough. Otherwise, he would not have bothered helping Yulan. Master Aspiration, please rest assured. I have already found some clues leading to the set. I believe that it won't be long before we obtain a set of secret silver alchemy equipment for you, Yulan guaranteed. In the meantime, however, I will have to trouble Master Aspiration to produce a few more Fire Dragon Potion recipes. That way, I can earn the money required to buy the alchemy equipment quickly. This is a simple task, Silent Aspiration laughed. As time passed by, the various guilds throughout God's domain no longer competed over dungeons. Instead, they had shifted their focus to competing in trade. This competition only grew fiercer as more time passed. This shift had occurred because everyone had seen just how profitable the Candlelight Trading Firm was. After just 2 short days, many guilds had opened their own shops. Even Ouroboros had opened a shop in Star Moon City, though the shop was nowhere near the central district. However, Gentle Snow had not had much choice. She had seen just how much money the Candlelight Trading Firm raked in every day. By the time Ouroboros collected enough reputation points and coins to purchase a golden land, the Candlelight Trading Firm would have monopolized Star Moon City's trade. So, she made the decision to set up a shop in the city's outer district first. At the very least, the guild could gain a small income of coins this way. Meanwhile, Overwhelming Smile was even more amazing. Not only had the guild set up a shop in Maple City, but it had also opened another shop in White River City, challenging the Candlelight Trading Firm. Young Master Feng, everything has been prepared. At noon, we should have a sufficient stockpile of the Fire Dragon Potion. At that time, our men will announce the sales of the potion throughout White River City. Even if the Overwhelming Trading Firm is not situated in the golden areas, everyone will still swarm the shop. Moreover, the Candlelight Trading Firm only has 3 people capable of producing the basic strengthened armor kits. When the time comes, it will fall to the Overwhelming Trading Firm. Excellent! Yulan, you've done splendidly this time. You were actually able to obtain something as valuable as the Fire Dragon Potion. With this potion, the Overwhelming Trading Firm will lure a large number of players. We'll reduce the prices for the other products as well. I want to see just how the candlelight trading firm plans to compete. Feng Xianyang said gleefully. Underworld had money and manpower. They could easily obtain a large stock of materials. In addition to Silent Aspiration's unlimited supply of fire dragon potion recipes, each additional basic alchemist they nurtured would be one more capable of producing the fire dragon potion. Currently, the overwhelming trading firm already possessed 6 basic alchemists. As more time passed, that number would only increase. On the other hand, the candlelight trading firm had no way to increase the number of forgers who could craft basic strengthening armor kits, no matter how many basic forgers they hired. Meanwhile, Candlelight's unsatisfied customers would naturally run to the overwhelming trading firm. After all, many level 25 dungeons required players to have fire resistance. One could say that the fire dragon potion was more valuable to players than the basic strengthened armor kits. Moreover, every player only possessed limited funds. As the fire dragon potion was cheaper than the basic strengthened armor kits, when comparing the benefits one could gain from the two, players would prioritize the fire dragon potion. While Feng Xianyang fantasized about monopolizing White River City's trade with the overwhelming trading firm, Shifeng's work was in full swing. To maximize the benefits of the Book of Gold, Shifeng allowed all trustworthy advanced forging apprentices to become basic forgers and had them produce light stones ceaselessly for 2 days. As for Shifeng himself, after becoming a forger, he had unlocked the forging design for the intermediate mana armor kit. Hence, throughout the duration of the Book of Gold, he focused on forging intermediate armor kits without rest. In addition, during this time, Shifeng had secretly recruited Gentle Snow's help to establish a few candlelight trading firms in several other major cities, particularly the major cities in Star Moon Kingdom's eastern region. However, as Shifeng's money was limited, he had only established basic shops in these cities' outer districts. To establish these shops, Shifeng had invested all of the money he had earned during this time. He even spent the money the guild had earned through guild quests. Guild leader, we have met our intended goal. We can begin operations at any time, Melancholic Smile reported. Although she was somewhat tired, excitement filled her eyes. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.